Chapter 67. When he pushed the door open, it was already daytime. The two girls who were monitoring him seemed to have left to rest. He wasn't restricted from going out during the day. However, he was afraid that he couldn't freely enter and exit the tribe's encampment. The ghosts in Green Clan don't have a clear hierarchy. They aren't united either. It can even be said that the ghosts that joined Green Clan have different purposes. Ning Fan's eyes seemed to be able to see through people's hearts. He pushed open the bamboo fence and walked in the forest. His eyes swept across the ghost experts that he passed by. Everyone had their own purpose. There was only one word that could make a group of gold core ghosts gather: benefits. The elder who was guarding the vault might steal something that he was guarding. It could even be said that the late gold core elder was being monitored by 10 intermediate and 50 early gold core ghosts. Each of them had their own agenda. This was the most suitable word to describe the ghosts in the tribe. Ning Fan's wasn't the only one who wanted to rob the vault. The entire Green Clan had ulterior motives. The vault of the tribe was located at the end of the bamboo forest. There was an invisible formation covering the place. There were also gold core experts hidden everywhere guarding the place. The security was quite tight. He came to the vault to inquire about the layout of the vault, the layout of the formation, and the distribution of experts. After that, he would make a detailed plan to steal the sense beads. Every month, the medical officer could come to the vault to collect a certain amount of herbs for concocting pills. Ning Fan wanted to use this reason to find out more about the vault. When Ning Fan walked out of the vault, he encountered a ghost that was trying to steal the herbs and was discovered by the formation. That ghost was an early gold core expert. In New Country, he could be considered as a first-class expert. However, his spirit sense couldn't detect that there was a defensive formation outside the vault. As soon as the formation was activated, the ghost's expression changed drastically. He retreated in a hurry, but it was too late. As soon as the formation was activated, an irresistible scent spread out. The gold core ghost screamed and was burned to ashes in just a breath's time. Another early gold core herb thief. Every once in a while, there would be someone who doesn't know life from death and wants to rob the spiritual herbs in the vault. In the dark, a few sneers were heard. They seemed to be sneering at the ghost that died in vain and at Ning Fan's. In the eyes of these experts, Ning Fan's purpose of joining the Green Clan was most likely to be the spiritual herbs in the vault. This was not difficult to guess, because many of them chose to guard the treasury for this reason. Ning Fan stopped and did not move forward anymore. The invisible formation was right in front of him. Indistinctly, he could feel the chi of countless hidden experts. Their concealment techniques were extremely profound. If Ning Fan did not completely release his spirit sense, he would definitely not be able to detect them. With Ning Fan's cultivation base in the Tao of formations, he was able to identify the number of formation eyes in just a short while. The 108 formation eyes could barely be considered a nascent soul realm formation. Moreover, each of the formation eyes was not filled with celestial jades or celestial ores, but with sense beads. This was a nascent realm formation that was set up with spiritual will as the driving force. Ghostly cultivators below the nascent soul realm could be killed with ease. Ning Fan's eyes fell on the 108 formation eyes with a hint of passion. 108 golden core prayer beads were actually used to set up a formation. It was truly a reckless waste of God's resources. However, this was to be expected. To ghosts, the most valuable things were spirit herbs. As for the sense beads, they could obtain them just by killing one of their companions. Other than forging treasures and setting up formations, they really didn't have much use for them. After all, they couldn't live, so they couldn't devour. The tragic ghost, who had just died, slowly formed a dazzling prayer bead next to his exploded soul. Immediately, a female ghost with a waist like a water snake appeared beside the sense bead in a flash of green light. She opened her hand and took the sense bead away. At the same time, she stared at Ning Fan with a sneer. "Yo, isn't this the new medical officer, Zhou Ming? Why? Are you here to rob the vault and die?" Ning Fan's eyes turned cold the moment the female ghost appeared. A late gold core female ghost. She must be the elder who was guarding the vault. Zhou Ming wouldn't dare to rob the vault. However, as a medical officer, I lack herbs to concoct pills. so I came to the vault to collect them. According to the rules of Green Clan, a medical officer can collect 10 stalks of century-old spirit herbs every month to concoct pills. At the same time, I have to submit at least one second revolution pill to the clan every month. Ning Fan's expression remained unchanged. He cupped his fist slightly. His calmness made the late gold core female ghost look at him with a whole new level of respect. The sneer on her face slowly disappeared, and she stared at Ning Fan meaningfully. You know how to concoct pills? Which revolution pill? May I know how to address Elder? Ning Fan didn't answer her question, but asked with a faint smile. Hee, early gold core brat. Those who dared to ask my name are all dead. Fine. I will spare you this time since you are a pill master. Listen carefully. This elder's name is Chu Han. The elder named Chu Han actually answered Ning Fan's question. This surprised the experts who were hiding in the dark. After all, they had never seen Elder Chu Han treating an early gold core ghost in such a friendly manner. But it was no wonder. After all, there were only a few ghosts who knew how to concoct pills. Most of the ghosts knew how to concoct pills when they were alive, but after they died, they would usually lose most of their memories. Only a few of them could still remember how to concoct pills. Yesterday, Ning Fan's performance in the tribe was average, so he couldn't enter the eyes of the elders. But if he knew how to concoct pills, his status would be much higher. Perhaps he would be valued even more than an intermediate gold core elder. Chu Han's eyes swept across Ning Fan. She was curious why a mere early gold core cultivator like him could be so calm in front of her. So it's Elder Chu Han. My name is Zhou Ming, a second revolution pill master. Ning Fan replied indifferently. He wouldn't publicize his fourth revolution pill concoction technique, because it would instantly attract the attention of countless experts, making it hard for him to act in the dark. Really? Only second revolution? Elder Chu Han's eyes revealed an obvious disappointment. Her eyes turned cold again. Although there weren't many second revolution pill masters, they weren't scarce. Second revolution pill masters had almost no effect on gold core ghosts. Chu Chun, bring him in to choose the herbs. He is only allowed to pick 100 years old herb, 500 years old herb, and 1,000 years old herb. You know the consequences if you lose even one. Chu Han's words were cold and filled with killing intent. She shook her body and disappeared without a trace. She didn't want to talk to Ning Fan anymore. All of a sudden, an old man who was dressed like a fisherman slowly revealed himself, while holding a formation plate. He chuckled at Ning Fan. This old man is Chu Chun. Greetings, Master Zhao. This elderly fisherman seemed to only have an early gold core realm cultivation base. The way he addressed Ning Fan was even more respectful, and carried a hint of flattery. However, as soon as he appeared, Ning Fan could feel a trace of coldness flashing across his back. His eyes did not move, but a trace of instinctive fear rose in his heart. Strange. Even if he was facing a late gold core expert, no one could give Ning Fan such a sense of crisis. This old man isn't simple. Ning Fan's eyes swept across the old man, as if nothing had happened. Finally, he found some clues from the old man's chi. Nascent soul chi. This old man was a half-step nascent soul expert. A half-step nascent soul expert would at least be a great elder of a ghost clan. Ning Fan was afraid that this old man was the great elder of a ghost clan. Ning Fan's heart sank. This old man probably had the same purpose as him, to disguise himself and sneak into Green Clan. Since he was guarding the vault, his target was naturally the spiritual herbs. Junior Zhoming greets Senior Chu. I'll have to trouble Senior to lead the way, and bring me to get the spiritual herbs. Hundreds of thoughts flashed across his mind, but he didn't show it on his face. He cupped his hands at the old man and smiled, then followed him into the vault. The old man seemed to be very talkative. He seemed to have a wide range of knowledge and experience, but he was trying to find out Ning Fan's background by beating around the bush. Ning Fan answered the old man's questions perfunctorily. With his experience as an immortal emperor, it was impossible for him to get any information out of the old man. Even if Ning Fan didn't say anything, the fact that he could answer the old man's question had already made the old man frown. This old man is the great elder of Purple Clan. When I was alive, I was unstoppable in Rain Immortal World. After my death, I painstakingly cultivated for 1,000 years to gain such knowledge. This little guy's bone age seems to be no more than 17 years old, but he was able to answer my question. He's a good schemer. He could tell that I wanted to find out his background, so he tried to change the topic. But he didn't know that his answer to my question had already exposed a lot of problems. This kid must have hidden something. I'm afraid that the reason why he came to Green Clan is for the vault. It coincides with my purpose. However, this little guy won't be able to snatch away the things that I want. Ning Fan and I had our own thoughts and gradually stopped talking. After Ning Fan stepped into the vault, he answered the old man perfunctorily, while secretly observing the layout of the formation in the vault. The vault was divided into 4 floors. The first floor had the weakest defense. As long as Ning Fan was careful and didn't expose his trump card, he would be able to steal everything from the first floor. Unfortunately, the first floor only contained century-old spiritual herbs. The second floor contained sense beads and some magical treasures of ghost cultivators. The third floor contained century-old and above spiritual herbs. The fourth floor contained century-old spiritual herbs. Ning Fan was secretly delighted. It seemed like the gold core sense beads weren't the most important thing in Green Clan. The defense of the second floor hadn't reached the nascent realm yet. Ning Fan was confident that he could destroy the Grand Formation and seize all the sense beads with his Separation Slayer. Of course, he couldn't do that now. Ning Fan could feel that countless experts guarding the vault had locked their spirit sense on him. Once he made any strange move, they would immediately activate the power of the formation and burn him to ashes. I'll sneak in and steal the herbs some other day. The century-old spiritual herbs are all in the first floor. Master Zhou, feel free to choose. The old man smiled and continued to observe Ning Fan. Ning Fan's eyes swept across the century-old spiritual herbs in the room. Each of the spiritual herbs was sealed on the wooden shelves by the power of the formation. Not only could it prevent the thief from stealing the herbs, it could also prevent the medicinal energy from dispersing. Ning Fan was surprised when he saw the spiritual herbs. There were many extinct spiritual herbs in Rain Immortal World, but he could find them in Demon Sinister Forest. For example, there were 2 missing herbs for the Rising Spirit Pill, and 1 missing main herb for the Consolidating Spirit Pill. The Rising Spirit Pill was useless to Ning Fan, but the Consolidating Spirit Pill was a must for him to break through to the peak of Harmonious Spirit Realm. Due to the scarcity of the Consolidating Spirit Pill in the outside world, the price of the Consolidating Spirit Pill had already reached a sky-high price. At first, Ning Fan wasn't interested in the century-old spiritual herbs, but now, an idea emerged in his mind when he saw the mountains of century-old spiritual herbs. He would steal all the century-old spiritual herbs to concoct a large number of Rising Spirit Pills and Consolidating Spirit Pills. Not only would he use them, but he would also leave them for the 3 black demon guards. In less than 10 years, Ning Fan was confident that he could cultivate the 3 black demon monarchs to the Harmonious Spirit Realm. 1,400 Harmonious Spirit experts. Even if Ning Fan didn't have a nascent soul cultivation base, it wouldn't be difficult for him to sweep the entire Extreme Yin Gate. He collected his thoughts, and without batting an eyelid, casually took 10 ordinary spirit herbs, bid farewell and left. He didn't take the herbs for the Consolidating Spirit Pill to avoid suspicion. After Ning Fan left, the old man reported the process of Ning Fan taking the herbs to Elder Chu Han. Century-old Li River Grass, century-old Slanting Valley, century-old Lu Fragrance. These are the herbs needed to concoct the Second Revolution Spirit Recovery Pill. Chu Chun, you can leave now. I will remind you for the last time. Don't have any ideas about the vault. Chu Han sat cross-legged with her eyes closed. She wasn't interested in Ning Fan, who was a Second Revolution Dan Master. Hee. Chu Chun is only an early gold core expert. How would I dare to court death in the vault? If I had the cultivation of a late gold core elder, I would be more than willing to do something. The old man chuckled and left. But when he left the room, he looked at the direction where Ning Fan left with a trace of doubt. That kid's eyes stayed on the main ingredient of the Consolidating Spirit Pill for a few breaths. Consolidating Spirit Pill is something that only Harmonious Spirit Juniors need. It should be useless to gold core ghosts like us. How could he be tempted by the consolidating spirit pill? That look of joy on his face wasn't fake. Could it be that Zhou Ming isn't a gold core ghost? If he isn't a gold core ghost, how could he enter the third region? Unless he is a living person. Could he be the one who killed the Bone Sovereign's clone? Hee. If this kid is really the one who killed the Bone Sovereign's clone, this old man is willing to cooperate with him to eradicate the Green Clan. This old man was able to deduce so many things from Ning Fan's expression. Fortunately, this old man didn't have any ulterior motives towards Ning Fan. On the contrary, he had the intention to befriend Ning Fan. After all, Chu Chun was the great elder of the Purple Clan. The Purple Clan used to be the subordinates of Emperor Lan, Mei Chun. They weren't on the same side as the Bone Sovereign. Ning Fan killing the Bone Sovereign's clone had nothing to do with this old man. Naturally, he wouldn't expose Ning Fan to please the Bone Sovereign. Ning Fan didn't return to his house immediately. Instead, he took a stroll around the Green Clan during the day. In his heart, he had decided to treat the two female ghosts' injuries and remove the restriction on them. This way, he could rope them in to help him rob the vault. A lot of things were needed to treat the two female ghosts and remove the restriction. There were many shops in the Green Clan that were run by the experts themselves. Ning Fan only needed to spend some spiritual herbs to exchange for the items he needed. The third revolution pill, regaining sight pill, lacked 2 herbs. He could concoct 2 pills and put them into the empty eye sockets of the female ghosts to restore their sight. The third revolution pill, blood healing pill, lacked 1 herb. The wound caused by a high-grade magical treasure was extremely hard to heal. Only the blood healing pill could heal the wound. As for removing the restriction, he needed some poison. The higher the grade, the better. Ning Fan needed a large amount of poison. The stronger the poison, the better. In the memory of the immortal emperors, there was a method to fight poison with poison. It was specifically used to remove the restriction on one's body. If the poison was strong enough, it could even remove an unsolvable restriction like the sense restriction. Of course, the poison needed to remove the sense restriction must be extremely horrifying. At least, there wouldn't be any in the Rain Immortal world. After exchanging for the required herbs, Ning Fan returned to his house and began to concoct pills. This was the residence of the medical officer. It didn't lack earth, fire, and pill cauldron. It wasn't difficult for Ning Fan to concoct a third revolution pill with his current concoction technique and spirit sense. When the night fell, the pills were almost completed. Wisps of pill fragrance lingered outside the bamboo house. Outside the bamboo house, the white-robed female ghost and the red-robed female ghost arrived at the appointed time to monitor Ning Fan. However, as soon as they arrived outside the bamboo house, they were deeply captivated by the pill fragrance coming from the bamboo house. It smells so good. Could it be that Zhou Ming is concocting pills? Oh my god. He actually knows how to concoct pills. I just don't know what revolution pill he is concocting. It's so fragrant. It can't be a third revolution pill, right? If the white-robed female ghost had eyes, her eyes would be shooting out stars. How is that possible? That Zhou Ming is just a rascal with a low cultivation base. He only knows how to make girls happy. Even if he knows how to concoct pills, he can only concoct a second revolution pill. That's amazing. The red-robed female ghost curled her lips slightly, but her blood-red eyes were still looking at the bamboo house. A wisp of pill fragrance wafted out. The wound on her lower abdomen that would never heal began to grow flesh. Her expression was mocking, but her heart was extremely shocked. What kind of pill is that Zhou Ming concocting? Just a wisp of pill fragrance can actually make my wound show signs of healing. The sound of the lid of the cauldron was heard. The hearts of the 2 women rose to their throats at the same time. The pill was done. Don't you want to come in and see what kind of pill I have concocted? Chapter 68. Being invited into the house. The white-robed female ghost blushed while the red-robed female ghost spat in annoyance. What tricks does this Zhou Ming want to play this time? Although his tone was fierce, the red-robed female ghost did not feel a trace of hostility from his tone. Last night, Ning Fan's tone was easygoing, but there was a trace of pretentiousness in it. Tonight, however, Ning Fan's tone was like that of a friend. The The red-robed female ghost was used to the fickleness of the world, so she was very sensitive to a person's tone. It seemed like Ning Fan would not harm her sisters tonight. If that was the case, there was no harm in going in to have a look. She also wanted to know what kind of pill Ning Fan concocted. If it could cure her injuries, then she would snatch it. On the other hand, the white-robed female ghost tiptoed, as she was embarrassed to enter Ning Fan's house. Sister Hong Hong, let's not go in. I am afraid. The white-robed female ghost pulled the red-robed female ghost's sleeve and begged. What are you afraid of? He won't eat you. Wait, who asked you to tell him my name? The red-robed female ghost was annoyed. She gently knocked the white-robed female ghost's forehead and forcefully pulled her into the house. The house was still decorated by the medical officer Wuxia. However, Ning Fan had tidied up the pills and bottles, which was completely different from Wuxia's sloppy habits. In her heart, the red-robed female ghost had a higher opinion of Ning Fan. The tidiness of the house meant that Ning Fan was a meticulous person with a heart of stone. The more detailed a person was, the more they could see a person's character. The red-robed female ghost's eyes met Ning Fan's teasing eyes. She had a fiery temper, so she did not shy away from Ning Fan's teasing eyes. Instead, she gave Ning Fan an evil smile. However, when she smiled, more blood flowed out of her eyes. There was no beauty to it, only terror. Miss Hong Hong's smile is indeed different from the others. I have seen countless beauties, but it was rare for a smile to leave such a deep impression on me. Ning Fan was obviously teasing her, but there was no hint of disgust on his face. This made the red-robed female ghost unable to get angry, even though she was teased by Ning Fan. After all, there was no man who would tease her normally. However, she still did not want him to call her name. There was no reason for it. It was just that he was unwilling. Don't call me Miss Hong Hong. Do I know you that well? Call me Ning Hong Hong. Your surname is Ning. Ning Fan was startled. This red-clothed female ghost was from the same family as him. What? Are you dissatisfied with my surname? Ning Hong Hong pointed her sharp and blood-red long fingernails at Ning Fan's with a hint of resentment. I wouldn't dare. I just think that Miss Hong Hong's name is very pleasant to the ear. Ning Hong Hong. It's better to be red than white. I think Miss Hong Hong must be a sentimental person. Ning Fan's praise made Ning Hong Hong extremely happy. Gradually, she found Ning Fan's more pleasing to her eyes. Ning Fan's eyes fell on the white-robed female ghost again. He found it slightly funny. This white-robed female ghost was really afraid of strangers. Could it be that she was a young lady who didn't go out of her boudoir when she was alive? However, the more he looked at the female ghost, the more he felt that he had seen her somewhere before. A strange sense of familiarity welled up in his heart. A female corpse. Ning Fan's heart shuddered. He finally understood why he instinctively felt less hostility when he saw the red-clothed and white-robed females. Not only did the two females' characters suit his taste, more importantly, the appearance of the white-robed female ghost was somewhat similar to the female corpse in the green coffin. Could she be the soul of the female corpse? No, it shouldn't have anything to do with the female corpse. The aura doesn't look like it. Ning Fan muttered in his heart, dispelling the absurd thought. He shook his head and asked Ning Hong Hong with a smile. Miss Hong Hong, you are just like your name. I wonder what is the name of this white-robed fairy. Her name is... The moment Ning Hong Hong opened her mouth, the white-robed female ghost covered her mouth and begged. Sister, don't tell him. All right, sister will never tell him. Your name is Mu Weiliang. Ning Hong Hong tried to hold back her laughter. And sister, you are the best. You mustn't tell him. The white-robed female ghost slightly trembled. After listening to the conversation between the two females, Ning Fan couldn't hold back his laughter anymore. Ever since he started cultivating the devil path, he hadn't laughed so easily. Mu Weiliang, a good name. Don't admire Chun Wan, only admire Weiliang. I like this name. As soon as Ning Fan's voice faded, the white-robed female ghost immediately shrieked with her mouth wide open in disbelief. You. How do you know my name? Stupid, dull, natural silliness. This girl was very interesting, silly and adorable. Ning Hong Hong, Mu Weiliang. Ning Fan had never thought that these two females, who were closely related to his life, would meet each other in such a strange way. It was hard to describe fate. He still wanted to say something, But Ning Honghong couldn't wait any longer. She cut off Ning Fan's words and stared at the pill bottle in Ning Fan's hand, licking her lips lightly. Zhou Ming, what revolution pill did you concoct? At this moment, Ning Honghong was so close to Ning Fan. The medicinal fragrance was even thicker. The medicinal fragrance really had a miraculous healing effect on the wound on her lower abdomen. Could it be that this Zhou Ming was really concocting a third revolution pill? She took a deep breath and looked at Ning Fan's eyes with a hint of anticipation. No girl would be willing to have a scar on their body, not to mention that the scar was a bloody hole that penetrated through her lower abdomen. Third revolution, Mu Weiliang exclaimed softly after hearing Ning Fan's words. Ning Honghong's blood-red eyes revealed a fiery light. She endured the heat and tried to speak in a calm tone. What medicinal effect? Blood healing pill, a third revolution pill. It's specialized in healing body defects. It can be used for both the mortal body and the ghost body. This pill was specially concocted for you, Miss Honghong. Ning Fan shook his head and didn't know whether to laugh or cry. This Ning Honghong was too impatient. If he didn't say that the pill was for her, he was afraid that Ning Honghong would forcefully snatch the pill from him the next moment. There had never been a woman who had written the word want all over her face so straightforwardly. Concocted for me? What do you mean? Ning Honghong was slightly stunned and looked at Ning Fan in confusion. She originally wanted to snatch the pill, but it was no longer necessary now, because Ning Fan had already thrown the pill into her palm. And yours, Weiliang? Ning Fan patted his storage pouch and took out another bottle containing 2 regaining sight pills. He stood up, held Mu Weiliang's palm, and placed it on her palm. Ning Fan didn't think that this action was inappropriate. He still unconsciously regarded Mu Weiliang as the female corpse in the green coffin, the woman who had a night of pleasure with him. However, this was Mu Weiliang's first time being held by a man. She was so embarrassed that she stuttered and couldn't speak. Her delicate body was trembling, and she forgot to struggle free. Ning Fan let go of her hand at the right time. She then regained her composure. She was still slightly out of breath, and said in a low voice, "Don't call my name directly, it's not good." "Okay, Weiliang. And thank you." The naive girl obviously didn't realize that she was still called Weiliang. Ning Fan didn't give any explanation after giving the 2 pills to them. Instead, he continued to take out bottles and jars from his storage pouch and placed them on the table. Each of them was a peerless poison that was priceless. At this moment, Ning Honghong couldn't hold back anymore. "I'm asking you, what do you mean by this? Also, what do you want to do by taking out these poisons? Poison us to death? Have you ever seen poison in front of the enemy? Besides, we aren't enemies. I'm going to cure your injuries and remove the seal on you too. You saved us to achieve your purpose of coming to Green Clan?" Ning Honghong was straightforward. She had experienced the ups and downs of the world. She could feel that Ning Fan didn't seem to be lying. However, she and Ning Fan were neither relatives nor friends. It was impossible for Ning Fan to treat her so well for no reason. It was even more impossible for him to fall for her beauty. She and Mu Weiliang didn't have any beauty to speak of. If it wasn't for their relationship or beauty, then it must be for benefits. She was a straightforward person and didn't like to beat around the bush. Ning Fan understood Ning Honghong's character, so he didn't want to hide his purpose. "That's right. I'll help you too to get rid of your ghost slave identity. What do you think?" Ning Fan's smile wasn't fake. He believed that his good intention had been expressed enough. This Ning Honghong wouldn't reject him. "About this, it depends on what I'm going to help you with. If I will be implicated and killed by you after I get rid of my ghost slave identity, then I'd rather be a ghost slave." Ning Honghong's expression was serious. She wasn't a rash person. She had to be clear about everything. "Don't worry. I just want to steal something from Green Clan. It won't cause any big trouble. I just need the 2 of you to be magnanimous and let me travel at night. Even if I fail and die, I won't implicate you too." Ning Fan explained, "It's just letting you travel at night. Even if you commit a crime, our punishment won't be too heavy. All right, I'll help you with this small favor. Next, help me treat my injury. My lower abdomen has been suffering from tearing pain day and night. I can't wait to recover." Ning Honghong heaved a sigh of relief. She didn't ask what Ning Fan wanted to steal. Everyone had their own secrets. It was basic etiquette not to probe. Would Ning Fan tell her if she asked? This Ning Fan was just an early gold core cultivator. He shouldn't have committed any big crime. Ning Honghong admired Ning Fan's concoction skills, but she still ignored Ning Fan's cultivation base. She always thought that she could eliminate Ning Fan's with just a raise of her hand. At this moment, she could not wait to heal the injuries on her body. Mu Weiliang, who was beside her, was also eager to recover her eyes. Seeing that the deal was settled, Ning Fan didn't say anything else. He turned around and flicked his sleeve. A cold wind blew past, smoothing the wrinkles on the bed. The dust was blown away. Then he turned back and smiled at the two girls. All right, I'll treat your injuries now. Weiliang only needs to lie down. As for Honghong, take off your clothes. Don't worry, I won't peek. What? You want me to take off my clothes? Ning Honghong felt like a fly was stuck in her throat. She was very reluctant. But it was understandable. Mu Weiliang's injury was on her eyes while her injury was on her lower abdomen. In that damned intimate place. Sister Honghong, don't worry. Zhou Ming said that he won't peek. Quickly take off your clothes. Mu Weiliang smiled innocently but spoke for Ning Fan. This made Ning Honghong curse in her heart. Won't peek? How can I treat my injury if I don't peek? Only a silly girl like you would believe such words to trick a child. Forget it. I don't have much charm anyway. It doesn't matter if he peeks at me. Ning Honghong gently gritted her teeth and began to take off her red dress. Her white and tender body was exposed. It was like the bright moonlight in the night sky. Chapter 70. Ning Fan and Chu Chen entered the second area. The jade shelves in front of them were filled with golden sense beads and various kinds of ghost magical treasures. Ning Fan's eyes fell on the sense beads. His eyes were burning with passion. If he could refine all of these gold core sense beads. When his eyes fell on a few ghost magical treasures, he was slightly stunned. There were hundreds of magical treasures here. But some of them had spirituality that surpassed the rest. Magical treasures with spirit. Without hesitation, he began to collect the sense beads and the magical treasures with spirit magical treasures. Chu Chen, who was dressed like a fisherman, didn't show any desire for the sense beads. Let's go to the third floor to collect spiritual herbs. Why waste time on these sense beads? As the great elder of Purple Clan, there were hundreds of sense beads in the clan, but they were useless to him. The only thing he needed was a large amount of spiritual herbs. He had already decided to refine the spiritual herbs to break through to the nascent soul realm and advance to the fourth area. Chu Chen didn't expect that these sense beads were good for a living person to enhance their spirit sense. After entering the third floor, Chu Chen still wanted to rely on Ning Fan's Separation Slayer sword to break the grand formation. Naturally, he wouldn't be calculative with Ning Fan here. Although they were going to split the treasury equally, he didn't want to share these sense beads with Ning Fan. Ning Fan didn't comment on Chu Chen's words. After collecting hundreds of sense beads, he looked at the passage of the third floor. His eyes flickered. The Dark Bird Bone King hadn't caught up yet, so he could continue to steal spiritual herbs. 10 breaths later, the third layer of defense was burned away by Ning Fan's sword. 100 breaths later, the fourth layer of defense was also burned away by Ning Fan's sword. Ning Fan and Chu Chen's actions were very fast. Someone might have just reported to the great elder of Green Clan that the treasury was robbed. The fourth floor was a warehouse that was shrouded in an icy aura. It was extremely cold. There were spiritual herbs that were at least 1,000 years old. There were even some 2,000 and 3,000 years old spiritual herbs. Almost at the same time, Ning Fan and Chu Chen's eyes moved. They patted their storage pouches and began to collect the spiritual herbs like crazy. The amount of spiritual herbs in Green Clan was astonishing. Both of them didn't care about the type and age of the herbs. They just collected the herbs like lightning. There were only a few rare spiritual herbs that were extremely important for Chu Chen to break through to the nascent soul realm. That was why Chu Chen asked for them. Young friend, this jade elimination jadeite is extremely important to me. Are you willing to part with it and give it to me? Little friend, can you give this 2,000-year-old woodwind grass to me? Little friend, this blood jade orchid. Chu Chen's tone did not contain the slightest hint of threat. Ning Fan's separation slayer gave him a great sense of crisis, but he could faintly feel that Ning Fan's hidden strength. Once his strength was unleashed, it would be a great threat to him. Therefore, as the great elder of the Purple Clan, his tone was extremely polite to a mere late harmonious spirit junior. If the people of the Purple Clan were to see Chu Chen, who had always been hot-tempered, talking to someone in such a soft voice, they would definitely be shocked. Sure, take it. Regarding the type of spiritual herbs, Ning Fan didn't have much choice. In other words, with his current cultivation base, he didn't need fourth revolution pills yet. Thus he wasn't in a hurry. There was no need to quarrel with the old man over such a trivial matter. In the Green Clan's vault, Ning Fan had once again gathered all the herbs needed for the nascent formation pill. Although he was still missing one or two herbs, he didn't lack too much. After collecting all the spiritual herbs, there were still a few decent quality magical treasures in the fourth floor of the vault. 5 peak high-grade magical treasures, and 2 supreme-grade magical treasures. The 5 peak high-grade magical treasures were golden, green, red, yellow and blue flying swords. They seemed to be a set of flying swords. When the 5 swords were unleashed at the same time, its power was comparable to a supreme-grade magical treasure. As for the other 2 supreme-grade artifacts, one of them was a small pure golden bell, known as the Eastern Ocean Bell, and the other was a blood-colored skull that seemed to be refined from the skull of a powerful ghost, known as the ghost-suppressing puppet. Among them, the ghost-suppressing puppet was obviously of a higher quality and more powerful than the Eastern Ocean Bell. As soon as he saw this treasure, Chu Chen revealed a rare look that was even more fervent than when he first saw the 1,000-year-old spiritual herbs. On the contrary, Ning Fan's eyes swept across the 5 colored flying swords and was slightly surprised. Then his eyes fell on the Eastern Ocean Bell. He seemed to have noticed something. A trace of astonishment could be seen in his eyes. I want the Eastern Ocean Bell. I want the ghost-suppressing puppet. Both of them spoke at the same time. When they realized that they had no conflict of interest, Chu Chen laughed while Ning Fan's eyes relaxed. All right, little friend will take the Eastern Ocean Bell, and I will take the ghost-suppressing puppet. As for the 5 flying swords, I have no use for them. I will also give them to you. Chu Chen wasn't being generous. The ghost-suppressing puppet actually had a great origin. It was refined from the skull of a spirit-severing ghost. If he had this item, he would have a chance to advance to the spirit-severing realm. Of course, this chance was only effective for ghosts. It was useless for Ning Fan. This item was much more precious than the Eastern Ocean Bell. Chu Chen gave the 5 flying swords to Ning Fan. The 2 of them divided the treasures equally. Ning Fan naturally wouldn't refuse the elder's good intention. He easily destroyed the 5 elemental flying swords and the defensive formation of the Eastern Ocean Bell, and took the 2 treasures. On the other hand, Chu Chen couldn't break the defensive formation of the ghost-suppressing puppet after a few twists and turns. He smiled helplessly and looked at Ning Fan with embarrassment. Little friend, can you help me break this formation? The dignified great elder of the Purple Clan was begging a harmonious spirit junior. However, Chu Chen didn't feel ashamed at all. Ning Fan had the strength to make him beg. Sure. Ning Fan waved his separation slayer and helped Chu Chen to break the formation of the ghost-suppressing puppet. Whether it was the 5 elemental flying swords or the Eastern Ocean Bell, Ning Fan couldn't control them with his current magical power. However, what Ning Fan cared about wasn't the Eastern Ocean Bell itself, but the ancient inscriptions carved on the small bell. According to the memories of the ancient Chaos Great Emperor, the inscriptions seemed to be some kind of demon language, but even the ancient Chaos Great Emperor couldn't recognize most of them. Although he didn't know the meaning of the ancient inscriptions, Ning Fan could faintly feel that the value of these inscriptions was far above a supreme-grade magical treasure. Even if the inscriptions were useless, Ning Fan didn't feel that he was at a disadvantage. After all, the ghost-suppressing puppet was priceless to ghosts, but it was almost useless to him. Haha, this is great. Little friend's personality is to my liking. Why don't you come with me to the Purple Clan? Chu Chen held the blood ghost puppet in his hands. as if he couldn't bear to part with it. "Thank you for your kindness, great elder, but this junior still prefers to be alone." Ning Fan cupped his fists at Chu Chun and left in a flash. At the same time, the ground outside the vault shook violently. The white skeleton giant stomped on the ground, causing the entire Green Clan to crack and sink 3 feet into the ground. A 300 meters tall giant was furious. He could sense that the human who killed his incarnation was hiding in the Green Clan. But he couldn't find him no matter how hard he tried. His anger was vented on the ground. The houses and bamboo forests in his path were all trampled and destroyed by him. As soon as Ning Fan left the vault, he immediately felt an extremely powerful spirit sense sweeping across his body. However, he remained calm and immediately used the power of his incarnation to conceal his yang qi, not revealing his identity. Since he had achieved his goal, there was no need for him to be entangled with the Bone Sovereign. The chaos in the Green Clan was the best time for him to fish in troubled waters and leave the clan. He believed that no one would notice him. He went straight back to the bamboo house. There were countless ghosts with evil intentions in the Green Clan. He wasn't one of them. In the night sky, the angry roar of the Bone Sovereign's incarnation could be heard. It made the experts of the Green Clan tremble with fear, but none of them dared to stop the Bone Sovereign. "Human, get the hell out here." Outside the bamboo house, Ning Fan pondered and decided to bid farewell to the 2 girls. However, when he returned to the bamboo house, he found that the 2 girls were nowhere to be found. It was impossible for the 2 girls to sleep soundly when the Bone Sovereign caused such a huge commotion. He was afraid that the 2 girls had already escaped from the Green Clan when they woke up. After all, they weren't injured or enslaved. There was no need for them to stay in the Green Clan anymore. However, Ning Fan couldn't help but feel a little disappointed. Didn't the 2 girls wait for his return when they escaped? Forget it. It's just a chance meeting. He shook his head and left the Green Clan stealthily. However, when the escaping light flew out of the Green Clan's territory and flew past the Green Ghost River, it stopped abruptly. What he saw was 2 graceful girls, one white and the other red, standing by the riverside as if they were waiting for something. If they weren't Mu Weiliang and Ning Honghong, who else could they be? "Why are you 2 here?" Ning Fan descended and smiled faintly. "Waiting for you. Initially, I wanted to escape during the chaos, but Sister Weiliang wouldn't leave no matter what. She insisted on waiting for you. She said that you would leave the Green Clan after you finished stealing and settling your matters. It seems like Sister Weiliang's guess is right. Why? Do you want to go with me?" "All right. I've stolen a lot of things, and I need a place for seclusion. Both of you, do me a favor and protect me. Che dream on." Ning Honghong raised her head and didn't refuse. As for Mu Weiliang, she smiled shyly when she saw that Ning Fan wanted to go with them. All right. I'll protect you." 3 rays of light gradually disappeared into the night sky. When the sun rose, Bone Emperor searched the entire Green Clan, but couldn't find the whereabouts of the human. He was furious and made a decision after making a fuss. "Humph. Since my clone can't find you, I'll send my true self here. As long as you still have my bone, even if my spirit sense isn't in it, I can still use the bone searching technique to find your whereabouts." The furious Bone Emperor left the 3rd region and returned to the 7th region. No one dared to stop him. After Bone Emperor left, the great elder of Green Clan, Qing Lingshan, heaved a sigh of relief. However, before he could heave a sigh of relief, he immediately discovered something even worse. Impossible. How could the spiritual herbs in the vault be looted? Who did it? In the clan hall, Qing Lingshan was furious, glaring at the 5 gold core experts. Including Chu Han, they were the ones who attacked the vault during the chaos. He already knew that Chu Han and the others had ulterior motives towards the vault. However, he never thought that Chu Han and the others had the ability to loot the vault. The nascent realm grand formation wasn't something that Chu Han and the others could break in a short time. Who did it? Qing Lingshan was so angry that his injury was aggravated. The pain made him frown like an angry lion. Reporting to the great elder, it's Zhou Ming and Chu Chen. Chu Han gritted her teeth and told the truth. Chu Chen? Zhou Ming? The great elder searched hard in his mind, but he had no impression at all. He didn't remember any peak Jindan stage expert called Chu Chen or Zhou Ming, reporting to the Great Elder that Zhou Ming is a new medical officer of the tribe. He's a human. A Golden Core Realm Master who committed the crime added. What? Human? Could it be? Qing Lingshan's eyes were filled with anger. A mouthful of blood spurted out from his mouth. He finally understood why Bone Emperor would be so furious and come to Green Clan. It turned out that his Green Clan had lured the wolf who offended Bone Emperor here. How could he be so stupid? How could he not be discovered when a human entered Green Clan? If he could discover Zhou Ming's hidden identity earlier, not only would he not provoke Bone Emperor, he would also have made a great contribution. A great merit had passed by him just like that. And he even caused the Green Clan to lose all the spiritual herbs they had stored. Chu Chen, this person is a ghost. He can change his appearance and name to make it hard to track him. Ignore him. Investigate Zhou Ming. I only want Zhou Ming. As long as we find this person, not only can we please Bone Emperor, we can also get back the stolen spiritual herbs. Pass down the order of the Great Elder of Green Clan. Use the immortal execution order on Zhou Ming in the 3rd formation zone. How dare he plot against my Green Clan? I want him to pay the price. What? Immortal execution order? In the clan hall, several late gold core experts seemed to have heard something horrifying. Their faces were filled with shock and their bodies trembled. The immortal execution order was a divine item used by the ancient heavenly court to execute the traitor immortals and gods. As long as the order was refined and branded with a trace of the aura of the person killed, the person would die for sure. Although the immortal execution order that fell into Qing Lingshan's hand was only a broken item, no one below the nascent soul realm could resist the might of the immortal execution order. Wasn't it too wasteful to use such a heaven-defying item just for a mere Zhou Ming? After all, a token could only be used once. It seemed like Qing Lingshan was really aggrieved and angry this time. He was really determined to kill Zhou Ming. Chapter 71. The reason why he came to this bamboo forest was to go into seclusion, to refine the sense bead, and break through to the late gold core realm. This quiet bamboo forest was suitable for setting up a nascent realm grand formation. Winding path to seclusion. Last time, Ning Fan used hundreds of thousands of immortal jades to set up the Void Realm Grand Formation, Mountain River Reverse. Although the formation was successful, its power was far from being able to kill a void fragmentation expert. The reason was that although the formation I was set up correctly, and the formation diagram was complete, the immortal jades and immortal ores used to power the formation were too little. Using hundreds of thousands of immortal jades to set up a nascent realm grand formation was just right. That was why Ning Fan didn't plan to set up a Void Realm Grand Formation in the 3rd region. He only spent 200,000 immortal jades to set up a nascent realm grand formation. It might not be as profound as a Void Realm Grand Formation, but because it was a complete formation, its power could even kill a late gold core expert. Bing Ling and Yu Ling hadn't fully recovered from their injuries, and their combat strength wasn't high. It was better for them not to show themselves in such a dangerous place. As for the small sable, it used its medicinal power to break the seal and restore its peak gold core realm cultivation after wasting countless thousand years of spiritual herbs. He looked at Ning Honghong and Mu Weiliang with a hint of pleading and teasing. I'll have to trouble you 2 fairies to look after my life and death. Bah, you still won't tell me your real name at this juncture? Since you're a living person, you naturally can't be the ghost Zhou Ming. Ning Honghong lifted her chin. Oh sorry, I'm a little too immersed in my role. My name is Ning Fan. Ning Fan winked at Mu Weiliang. Mu Weiliang couldn't help but feel shy. Then, he smiled and began to set up the formation in the bamboo forest. Ning Honghong's expression turned strange when she heard Ning Fan's name. Your surname is Ning? She finally understood why Ning Fan was surprised when he heard that her surname was Ning. However, compared to the shock that followed, this little bit of shock was nothing. You know how to set up a nascent realm formation. When Ning Fan selected 216 formation eyes in the bamboo forest, he moved his spirit sense, and the formation diagram appeared on the ground. Ning Honghong's face was filled with surprise while Mu Weiliang's mouth was slightly open. This Ning Fan really knows too many things. Not only did he know how to refine third revolution pills, what was even more heaven-defying was that he knew how to set up a nascent soul grand array. His bone age was no more than 17 years old, but his cultivation base was already at the late harmonious spirit realm. His spirit sense had even reached the intermediate gold core realm. At the same time, he was also a third revolution Dan master and a nascent grade formation master. Ning Honghong gently breathed in. This was the first time she looked at Ning Fan's face to face. She vaguely felt that she was wrong to underestimate Ning Fan's before. I've been dead for a few thousand years. Back then, I was invincible in Wu country and established the Ning clan in Haining. I was so glorious that I thought I had seen all the elites in the world. I didn't expect there to be such a monstrous figure like you in this world. Ning Honghong praised softly. When her words fell into Ning Fan's ears, he almost made a mistake on the formation diagram and fell down. You said that you are the old ancestor of the Ning family in Haining County of Wu country? Ning Fan's expression was extremely strange. Ning Honghong, whom he had taken advantage of, was actually the soul of his old ancestor? So what if I do? What? Do you dare to be dissatisfied? Ning Honghong stretched out her long nails and playfully threatened Ning Fan's. No, I'm not dissatisfied. I'm just a little surprised. Ning Fan lightly coughed and put away his strange expression. So what if Ning Honghong was the old ancestor of the Ning family? At first glance, this girl was a virgin. She certainly wouldn't have any children, and certainly wouldn't be related to him by blood. Why am I thinking about this? He shook his head and continued to arrange the formation. While arranging the formation, he asked about Mu Weiliang's background. He didn't know what this girl's identity was in the past. Sister Weiliang doesn't have any memory of her previous life. When I was patrolling in the Red Clan, I accidentally picked her up. Ning Honghong explained to Ning Fan. Mu Weiliang's expression turned gloomy when she said that she didn't have any memory of her previous life. Is that so? It doesn't matter. The memory of one's previous life isn't necessarily a happy one. It's fine to forget it. Ning Fan gently patted Mu Weiliang's beautiful hair to comfort her. Then, he continued to arrange the formation, which made the little girl blush again. It was a very strange feeling. Although it was the first time the three of them met each other, it felt as if they were very familiar with each other. Ning Fan asked himself that it would be difficult for him to encounter such a strange thing in his life. Entrusting each other's safety to a stranger in a strange place. Perhaps they knew each other in their previous life. Ning Fan was able to detect the 7,000 formation eyes of the mountain and river reverse formation. Therefore, the winding path formation only had 216 formation eyes. Naturally, it wasn't a problem for Ning Fan. Ning Fan placed immortal jades and immortal ores at the positions of the formation eyes. With a sweep of his spirit sense, he connected the formation eyes one by one in just half an instant's worth of time. The terrain was connected, and the formation was completed. If other nascent realm formation masters were to see the speed of setting up the formation, they would surely be shocked. After the grand formation was completed, Ning Fan found a place with the strongest earth fire. He cut open the earth vein with his sword, drew out the earth fire, and began to concoct pills. Ning Honghong and Mu Weiliang were sitting leisurely, watching Ning Fan's skillful concoction technique with an amazed expression. Profound Dark Pill was a third revolution pill. When consumed together with the gold core sense bead, it could purify the evil and ghostly power of the sense bead. The 500 years' worth of pills in the Green Clan's vault was more than enough to concoct hundreds of profound dark pills. The only problem was that Ning Fan could only concoct 100 third revolution pills at the same time. He was afraid that he would need a few more batches before he could concoct enough pills. 3 days had passed. Ning Fan had opened 12 batches of pills. Except for one that was destroyed, the other 11 batches were barely successful. A total of 1,100 profound dark pills were concocted. It couldn't be helped. Even if Ning Fan had the concoction technique of an immortal emperor, he couldn't guarantee success every time he concocted a third revolution pill. The higher the grade of the pill, the lower the success rate. The pills had been concocted. All that was left was to refine the power of the sense bead. Ning Fan sat cross-legged and adjusted his magical power. After half a day, he finally recovered to his peak condition and began to refine the sense bead one by one. The mental power of the gold core sense bead was too strong. At this moment, Ning Fan was so focused that he couldn't even hear the sound of the wind outside. There were still 7 days left before the end of the sect assessment. The winding path leading formation was a nascent realm grand formation. It could be set up by borrowing the terrain of the bamboo forest. Compared to attacking the enemy, it was more important for protection and concealment. The twists and turns were hard to find. In the past few days, the experts of Green Clan had searched the bamboo forest several times, but they couldn't find Ning Fan and the others hiding here. Ning Honghong and Mu Weiliang were praising the grand formation. On the other side, the great elder of Green Clan Qing Lingshan was as anxious as an ant on a hot pan. On the 4th day, the experts of Green Clan had searched thousands of miles of the 3rd region, but still couldn't find any trace of Ning Fan. Trash. A bunch of trash. You can't even find a single person. What's the use of keeping you? Qing Lingshan's late gold core aura swept across the entire clan. The experts in the hall felt a chill down their spine. Even the other late gold core elders had a change of expression. Great elder. Perhaps this person isn't in the 3rd region anymore. He's a living person. It's easy for him to enter the 4th region or return to the 2nd region. The 2nd elder, Qing Hengxing, a burly man with a rough and cold demeanor, said. And that makes sense. Qing Lingshan's expression changed. Then his mouth curved into a sneer. Has the refinement of the immortal execution order been completed? Reporting to Great Elder, the refinement has reached the last step. But are we really going to use this treasure to eliminate Emir Zhoming? This immortal execution order is something that our Green Clan uses to deter the other clans. The 3rd elder Qing Wuwei, a middle-aged man with a short beard, said with hesitation. Idiot. As long as we kill this man and gain the favor of the Bone Emperor, our Green Clan will be able to advance to the nascent Soul Realm. It'll be a piece of cake for us to break through to the 4th region. Qing Lingshan harumphed coldly. He disdained the short-sightedness of the experts in the hall. In the land of Nine Yin, the 8th and 9th region no longer existed. The Bone Emperor of the 7th region was the king. Who would dare to attack Green Clan if they could please the king? It was funny that these ghosts didn't have enough vision. No wonder they couldn't become the Great Elder. The refinement of the immortal execution order is about to be completed. Can you collect a trace of Zhoming's qi? Qing Lingshan asked indifferently. Reporting to Great Elder, the collection of qi in the bamboo building of the medical center has been completed. The 4th elder Qing Yun, a handsome young master, reported respectfully. Very good. Set up the altar and prepare to kill this man. Qing Lingshan flicked his sleeve and led the experts of the clan to an ancient altar. All those years ago, I'd once used an immortal execution token to annihilate the Fong clan's peak golden core realm grand elder, causing the Fong clan to decline. I never imagined that I'd actually use the immortal execution token once more to annihilate Emir Zhoming. He sneered. He couldn't wait any longer. However, he seemed to have thought of something and ordered. In addition, 2nd elder, 3rd elder, bring some people to the 3rd region to search for Zhoming. If the immortal execution order is activated, this man will certainly die. There will be 4 great sword shadows in the place where he will be killed. If this man is still in the 3rd region, you can take back the spiritual herbs. Of course, if anyone dares to keep the spiritual herbs for themselves, humph. I still have 2 immortal execution orders in my hand. Qing Lingshan swept his eyes across. No one dared to show any dissatisfaction. In the grand formation of the bamboo forest, Ning Fan continued to refine the power of the sense bead. His spirit sense was advancing from intermediate gold core realm to late gold core realm. In just 23 days, he had improved his spirit sense to such an extent. If this news were to spread back to you country, everyone would be shocked. Just a little bit more. It seems like there are still 100 sense beads left. Ning Fan smiled faintly. He had only refined 400 sense beads, and he was about to break through to late gold core realm. Soon, just a little bit more. I just need to break through this bottleneck. Ning Fan's eyes were like torches. He held his breath and concentrated, preparing to break through the spirit sense realm with all his might. However, at this moment, a sense of crisis spread throughout his body without any warning. His eyes were filled with anger, and he spurted out a mouthful of blood. His spirit sense was scattered and he failed to break through. A force of backlash attacked his sea of consciousness, causing him to feel pain, as if his spirit sense was being torn apart. He looked at his chest in shock. There was a bloody hole that appeared out of nowhere. But strangely, there wasn't a single drop of blood. Just when he was about to break through, an illusory sword shadow came out of nowhere and slashed his chest. There are still sword shadows. He stood up abruptly and waved his separation slayer palm. He turned around and blocked one of the illusory sword shadows, but the other sword shadow was hard to defend against. It pierced through Ning Fan's abdomen, leaving a bloody hole. Puff! Ning Fan's face turned pale. More and more sword shadows came from all directions, making Ning Fan tired of dealing with them. The two girls were originally guarding Ning Fan. Their beautiful faces turned pale when they saw Ning Fan's spirit sense failed at the critical moment and was slashed by thousands of swords. They recognized the origin of the sword shadows, which made them even more shocked. Immortal Execution Order. What did you do to offend the Great Elder of Green Clan? Why did he use this order to hunt you down? Ning Fan, let us help you. The two girls moved, wanting to help Ning Fan block the sword shadows. But the next moment, they were even more shocked. Dozens of illusory shadows of Green Clan were standing in the air above the sea of bamboo forest, attacking the Grand Formation with all their might. Don't worry about me. You two go and control the Grand Formation. Don't let them break it. Humph. Immortal Execution Order Green Clan. Is it Green Clan that plotted against me? Ning Fan's eyes revealed a trace of ruthlessness. He raised his head and saw 4 illusory sword shadows outside the Grand Formation in the sky, locking him down from all directions. Countless sword shadows came from the 4 swords. He was shocked. These 4 swords were very famous, even in the memory of ancient chaos. 4 immortal execution swords. The 4 sword shadows seemed to have existed since the ancient times, locking the vast sky. Even though they were just illusory shadows, they still emitted an aura of vicissitudes and destruction. The air was mixed with a faint smell of blood. That smell of blood was formed by the blood of countless immortals and gods. The so-called Immortal Execution Order could actually transform into 4 illusory shadows of swords, using endless sword chi to kill the person locked down by the order. If it was in ancient times, it wouldn't be 4 illusory shadows of swords that could kill immortals and gods, but the real 4 immortal execution swords. Outside the formation, the second elder Qing Hengxing and the third elder Qing Wuwei led dozens of Green Clan experts to surround the Sea of Bamboo. They followed the orders of the Great Elder and searched the third region. However, they never thought that Zhou Ming would be so daring as to stay in the third region after stealing the spiritual herbs. Haha. After the Immortal Execution Order kills this man, we will retrieve the spiritual herbs. It will be considered as a great contribution. Qing Hengxing sneered and attacked the nascent realm Grand Formation with greater effort. His physical body was extremely strong, like iron bones. Each of his punches and palms could cause cracks to appear on the Grand Formation, causing the ground to shake violently and raising gusts of violent wind. Although it recovered quickly, the immortal jades in the eye of the formation were being consumed rapidly. As soon as the immortal jades were used up, the formation would be broken. Before Qing Hengxing finished his sneer, 2 beautiful figures were holding the immortal jades given by Ning Fan, replenishing the immortal jades in the eye of the Grand Formation. One of them was a lady in red. Her eyes were filled with killing intent as she controlled the Grand Formation. In an instant, thousands of green lights flew out from the formation and turned into pieces of sharp bamboo leaves. Like dancing leaves, they swept towards the experts of Green Clan. The nascent realm Grand Formation had the effect of killing. Seeing that Zhou Ming still had companions controlling the Grand Formation, the 4 gold core experts were instantly killed by the formation light. The remaining experts also suffered different degrees of injuries. Even Qing Hengxing, who had a strong physical body, had a bloody wound on his chest. He roared in anger, but when his eyes fell on the peerless beauty of the two ladies, a trace of lustful smile appeared on his face. The two ladies controlling the grand formation had peerless beauty that he had never seen before in his life. Good. I didn't expect that Zhou Ming still has two beauties to protect him. However, he certainly won't be able to escape from the immortal execution. As for you two ladies, the grand formation will finally be broken. Hee, both of you look pretty good. After breaking the grand formation, I won't let you two go easily. Tonight, I will let you two regret it. Qing Hengxing had a late gold core cultivation base. He was a rare ghost cultivator who refined his body. His combat strength was astonishing. As long as the grand formation was broken, he alone could easily subdue the two ladies. As for the two ladies in the formation, their beautiful faces turned pale when they saw that the two elders of Green Clan were involved in the pursuit. Ning Honghong's attack with the grand formation seemed powerful, but it was a sneak attack. Now that the ghosts were on guard, it wouldn't be easy to hurt them again. Moreover, the attack just now had consumed 1/10 of the immortal jade of the grand formation. How many more times could such an attack be used? The eyes of the two ladies fell on Ning Fan. Their faces were filled with heartache and pity. At this moment, Ning Fan's body was riddled with thousands of bloody holes. His flesh was festering. They were afraid that he wouldn't be able to withstand the sword shadow for long. What should we do? Mu Weiliang and Ning Honghong looked at each other. They could see a trace of heartache and despair in each other's eyes. However, at this moment, a trace of anger flashed in the eyes of Ning Fan, who had not a single piece of flesh on his body. It turned into the determination to kill the Green Clan. Green Clan, I will remember this. After I break the immortal execution sword shadow, I will go and annihilate Green Clan. His words carried the killing intent of an immortal emperor. When it fell into the ears of the experts of Green Clan, including Qing Hengxing, they felt a trace of fear. What level of killing intent was this? Even the Supreme Bone King did not have such a murderous aura. However, this fear only lasted for a moment before it was suppressed by Qing Hengxing and the others. They weren't newbies who had just made their debut. How could they be scared away by a killing intent? In the grand formation, Ning Fan's eyes were filled with determination. He took out the third Jade Royal Dan. The time since the last time he took the Dan was too short. This time, he would have to endure endless pain. But Ning Fan had no choice. The immortal execution sword Qi, even if it was just a phantom, gave him a life-threatening crisis. Die from the pain, or be slashed to death by the sword. He took the Jade Royal Dan in one gulp. His flesh was destroyed countless times by the sword shadow. The silver light in his bones was getting stronger and stronger. I am ancient chaos. Immortal execution sword shadow, do you dare to slash me? This time, he used the immortal emperor's prestige of the yin-yang locket. It made the dignified sword shadow hesitate for a moment. Ning Fan's eyes turned cold. He did something unbelievable. He opened his mouth and swallowed the countless sword shadows into his stomach. If I don't die, I will refine the immortal execution sword Qi. None of you will be able to escape. Chapter 72. After consuming the Jade Royal Dan, Ning Fan's body was able to withstand the attack of the sword Qi. He opened his mouth, and the starlight sword shadow slashed wildly, scattering the sword Qi and swallowing the scattered immortal execution sword Qi into his abdomen. When the sword Qi entered his abdomen, his liver and intestines were broken, and the pain was excruciating. However, the strange thing was that when the pain overlapped with the pain of the Jade Royal Dan, Ning Fan could no longer feel any pain. He was already numb to it. Two equal pain could offset each other. Ning Fan unexpectedly discovered this strange phenomenon. However, at this moment, he didn't have the mood to think about the reason behind it. The correct way to consume the Jade Royal Dan was to stop the pain with pain. He accidentally discovered it, but let's not talk about it now. Without the pain of the Jade Royal Dan, and the danger of the sword destruction, Ning Fan sensed the sword Qi in his body, and his eyes turned cold. With his current realm, he couldn't devour even a trace of the immortal execution sword Qi, which made him disappointed. However, These sword chi contained a trace of psyche power. Just based on the psyche power alone, it was much stronger than the power of the rosary beads. His breakthrough to late gold core spirit sense had failed because of the attack from the Green Clan experts. The remaining 100 sense beads might not be enough to break through to late gold core spirit sense. However, if he devoured the sword chi sense power, he was confident that he could break through to late gold core spirit sense again. He could sense that the Grand Formation was being besieged by the experts of Green Clan. Once the Grand Formation was broken, he would die and the two girls wouldn't be able to escape unscathed. He raised his head and looked at Qing Hengxing, who was laughing arrogantly outside the formation light. His eyes flickered with cold light as he spoke to the two girls. "Half an hour. Help me delay." The immortal execution sword chi couldn't be devoured, but sense power could. He forcefully separated the sense power from the sword chi and threw it into his sea of consciousness, merging it with his spirit sense. A mutation was slowly happening in his sea of consciousness. The power of his spirit sense slowly increased and rushed towards the bottleneck of late gold core realm. Outside the formation light, the attacks from the experts of Green Clan were getting fiercer and fiercer. Even the second elder, Qing Hengxing, gave up on breaking the formation with his body. He waved his palm and took out a small mountain magical treasure that was surrounded by black chi. High-grade magical treasure, extreme spiritual mountain. The might of this strike had the force of 10,000 caddies. Even a peak gold core expert wouldn't be able to withstand it. Extreme spirit mountain, smash it. Qing Hengxing sneered and blew out a mouthful of gold core chi. The small mountain instantly turned into a 1,000-meter-tall mountain and ruthlessly smashed onto the formation light. Every time it landed, the formation light would crack inch by inch, and thousands of immortal jades in the formation eye would be consumed. He licked his lips. In his opinion, the formation would lose its power in less than half an incense stick's time. "Third brother, as long as we can break this spell formation, you can take the spirit medicine back and report back to the Grand Elder. I'm going to stay here and have some fun with those two girls." He looked at Mu Weiliang and Ning Honghong with a lustful gaze, as if the two women were already his. If you can get rid of your lecherous habits, your mentality will improve tremendously. Who knows, you might have already broken through to the original level. Third Elder Qing Wuwei's eyes flashed with a trace of disdain, but it was hidden very deeply. At the same time, his hands were changing spells, and countless eerie fireballs were smashed onto the formation. In his opinion, it was only a matter of time before the Grand Formation was broken. In the formation light, Mu Weiliang's mind was in a mess while Ning Honghong gritted her teeth and hurriedly replenished the immortal jades in the formation eye. Ning Fan gave them 400,000 immortal jades, and in just a short period of time, they had already spent 40 to 50,000 immortal jades. At this rate, they would not be able to hold on for more than an hour before the formation was breached. "Sister Weiliang, come and replenish the immortal jades. I need to send my spirit sense into the formation in order to activate the defense of the formation to its limit." As soon as Ning Honghong finished speaking, she immediately sat cross-legged and sent her spirit sense into the formation light. Mu Weiliang, on the other hand, was shocked by Ning Honghong's bold action. She gritted her teeth but did not stop her. The formation borrowed the power of the mountains and rivers for defense. If a cultivator's spirit sense entered the formation and controlled it, the cultivator would be able to use the terrain that the formation borrowed to exert its greatest power. However, this was an extremely risky action, because once the Grand Formation was broken, the cultivator's spirit sense would not be able to leave the formation in time, and he would be severely injured. However, Ning Honghong couldn't care less about the risk. She only hoped to delay Ning Fan for half an hour. Perhaps after half an hour, he will have a way to break the siege of the experts of Green Clan. Ning Honghong comforted herself, but even she couldn't believe that Ning Fan would have a way to break the siege of Green Clan. As soon as her spirit sense entered the formation light, her face immediately turned pale. It was extremely difficult for her to control a nascent realm formation with her intermediate gold core spirit sense. Gradually, She felt a trace of spiritual connection with the terrain of the entire sea of bamboos. She constantly adjusted the terrain to strengthen the defense of the formation light. Outside the formation light, the experts of Green Clan could obviously feel that the power of the formation had increased. As for Qing Hengxing, he frowned as he realized that his extreme spiritual mountain could no longer break a crack on the formation light. Someone is controlling the formation with spirit sense? Humph. Is it her? What a reckless girl. Qing Hengxing's eyes fell upon the lady in red, who was sitting cross-legged in the formation light. His eyes turned cold. He waved his right hand to keep the extreme spiritual mountain, and took out a dark purple worn-out talisman. This talisman was faintly flickering with light. Apparently it was extraordinary. When the experts' eyes fell upon the talisman, all of them turned pale with fright. It's the Heavenly Ghost Talisman. It's a talisman that contains the power of a nascent soul expert. Everyone's eyes were filled with fear and dread when they looked at Qing Hengxing. Unexpectedly, Qing Hengxing was willing to use such a precious talisman in order to break the grand formation. Qing Hengxing seemed to be enjoying the gazes of the crowd. He laughed and twirled the talisman between his fingers, injecting vast magical power into it. Suddenly, the Heavenly Ghost Talisman glowed with purple light, and faint cries of ghosts and gods could be heard. Qing Hengxing performed a hand seal. The talisman was engulfed in black flames and turned into ashes. The talisman then turned into a 300 meters huge purple skeleton. It bit on the formation light and tore it apart. In just one move, a gap of 100 meters was torn open. At the same time, a miserable scream of a lady came out from the formation. The formation light was torn apart, and Ning Honghong's spirit sense was also torn apart. Her red lips that were as tender as blood were now pale. However, she couldn't care less about the injury to her sea of consciousness. She hurriedly performed a hand seal, and used her spirit sense to circulate the power of the terrain to repair the formation light. Although the formation light could be repaired, her spirit sense would still be injured. Qing Hengxing was slightly surprised when he saw this. He was surprised that the red-clothed female ghost could endure the pain, even though her spirit sense was torn apart. One must know that even many men couldn't endure the pain. This girl must have been a heroine in her past life. However, when he thought about how he could press a proud and conceited girl on top of him and ravage her wantonly, the evil thoughts in Qing Hengxing's heart grew stronger. He revealed his white fangs and sneered. He continuously controlled the talisman and the heavenly ghost to attack the formation light. I, your father, want to see how many times you little girl can last. Tear it apart. He tyrannically controlled the heavenly ghost skeleton to tear apart the formation light. It wasn't just the grand formation that was being torn apart. It was also tearing apart Ning Honghong's spirit sense. Sister Honghong. Mu Weiliang's heart felt like it was being cut by a knife when she saw Ning Honghong's spirit sense getting injured again and again. She wanted to bear the pain for Ning Honghong, but was pushed away by Ning Honghong. Silly sister, just hold on for a little longer. Her skin was pale and bloodless. It was even whiter than Mu Weiliang's unhealthy skin color. Her breathing was weak, but when she turned her head and saw that Ning Fan was unscathed, she felt relieved. Just hold on for a little longer. Her smile was too forced. Qing Hengxing, who was outside the formation light, finally lost his patience when he saw Ning Honghong's stubbornness and perseverance. Heavenly Ghost Skeleton explode. Qing Hengxing indifferently performed a hand seal. The skeleton that was formed by the talisman fire exploded in a split second and purple flames soared. In an instant, the purple flames spread out like splashing ink, drowning the 100-li sea of bamboo. The sea of flames evaporated, and the formation light was burnt and reborn in an instant. The immortal jades were consumed rapidly. Ning Honghong's spirit sense felt like it was being burned by fire. Blood flowed out from her 7 orifices, and she fell to the ground. The moment Ning Honghong fell to the ground, the power of the formation was greatly reduced. Everything within 100 li was drowned by the purple sea of flames. The bamboo forest was no more. Without the bamboo, there would be no formation. The grand formation was broken. The moment the grand formation was broken, the purple flames were guided by Qing Hengxing and engulfed Ning Fan, who was resisting the sword qi. Kill one first. Qing Hengxing's arrogant laughter came from the sky. In his point of view, it was already heaven-defying for Ning Fan to survive for so long under the attack of the immortal execution sword Qi. If he was attacked by the purple flames that were comparable to the attack of a nascent soul realm cultivator, he would certainly die. Mu Weiliang held Ning Honghong in her arms. Tears fell from her eyes as she looked at Ning Honghong's haggard appearance. As for Ning Honghong, she bit her lips. Blood flowed down from the corner of her mouth and tears swayed in her eyes. She still didn't help Ning Fan to buy enough time for half an hour. Sister Weiliang, run quickly. She revealed a desperate smile. Facing dozens of gold core experts of Green Clan, there was no way for her to survive today. I won't go. Mu Weiliang looked at the descending experts of Green Clan, and Qing Hengxing, who was approaching her with an obscene smile. Her heart was filled with fear. Ning Fan was drowned by the sea of flames, and it was unknown whether he was dead or alive. As for Ning Honghong, who she had been with day and night, she was facing death. She tried her best to suppress the fear in her heart. She stood up and stood gracefully in the sea of flames. Her expression was cold as she looked at the approaching experts of Green Clan. Let them go and I will go with you, she said to Qing Hengxing faintly. She had already decided in her heart that once Ning Fan and Ning Honghong escaped, she would break her heart vein and die. She would never allow herself to be humiliated by this man. However, her thoughts seemed to be seen through by Qing Hengxing. Hee, you don't have the qualification to negotiate after falling into my hands. Qing Hengxing was extremely satisfied. Although he had lost a life-saving talisman, it seemed that not only he could complete the task of the Great Elder, but he could also capture two stunning girls. He unleashed his late gold core cultivation. With just a single impact, Mu Weiliang was knocked to the ground. He approached Mu Weiliang step by step. He smirked and reached out his palm to touch her. No! Mu Weiliang revealed a look of despair. At this moment, the purple sea of flames within 100 miles suddenly shook violently. The 4 immortal execution swords that were suspended in the sky were shattered at the same time. An extremely cold voice came from the sea of flames. Under this voice, the swords on the waists of the experts of Green Clan trembled slightly, as if they were afraid of it. The swords were inanimate objects. How could they be afraid? What were they afraid of? Qing Hengxing retracted his palm and retreated without hesitation. At the place where he stood a moment ago, a starlight sword shadow with devil might that was enough to incinerate a gold core ghost slashed across. That was close. If he retreated a little slower, his palm that was about to touch Mu Weiliang would have been chopped off. Who dares to sneak an attack on me? He was both shocked and angry. He was shocked because the soul-burning power of the Separation Slayer sword was simply an undefendable nightmare for ghosts. He was angry because this was obviously Green Clan's internal affair. How could there be an ignorant expert who wanted to interfere? He didn't realize that the attacker was Ning Fan because in his impression, Ning Fan was already drowned in the purple flames and was already a dead man. In the sea of purple flames, there was a young man in white robe with a black cloak. His black hair was like a devil, and his eyes were filled with soul-stirring sword light. He was obviously just a young man, but his face was cold and his eyes were ruthless. He was like a piece of ice that wouldn't melt for thousands of years, standing between heaven and earth. Zhou Ming, it's you. How is this possible? You should have been killed by the immortal execution order and died in the sea of flames. Qing Hengxing took a few steps back. His heart and soul were greatly shaken. At this moment, this young man was only a late harmonious spirit expert, but he could feel an unstoppable pressure from the young man's eyes. It was as if he was facing a heaven emperor. It was like a raging sea, making him feel anxious. That gaze wasn't the murderous intent of an immortal emperor, but a sharpness that could annihilate everything, like a sword light that could slay all fiend gods. Waves of soul fluctuation set off huge waves in everyone's sea of consciousness. Some even showed signs of cracking. It was as if there were countless thunderbolts exploding in their bodies. Not only Qing Hengxing, but none of the dozens of Green Clan experts dared to look directly at the young man's eyes. He is Zhou Ming. Impossible. I have seen that Zhou Ming before. On the day he joined the clan, it took him a lot of effort to kill Huang Xie in the medical hall. A man with a wretched face was horrified. It was because he knew that Zhou Ming was weak, that he volunteered to join the mission of killing Zhou Ming from the Great Elder. But before he could finish his words, his body was cut into two without any warning. A dignified early gold core expert was beheaded in such an inexplicable way. The same situation happened in an instant. 21 early gold core experts were either cut into two at the waist or slashed into meat paste by the invisible sword light. Only 14 intermediate gold core experts and 2 late gold core experts, including Qing Hengxing, didn't die mysteriously. But each and every one of them was horrified, looking at the young man in fear. Without a doubt, the one who killed so many gold core experts with such a strange method must be that young man. What have you done? Qing Hengxing almost roared out to cover the panic in his heart. But the young man naturally wouldn't give him an answer. With a cold voice, his late gold core divine sense swept out. Chapter 73. Ning Honghong heaved a sigh of relief when she saw the familiar figure walking out of the sea of fire. As for Mu Weiliang, she almost cried tears of joy when she saw that Ning Fan was safe and sound. As for Ning Fan's ice-cold qi, it made the two girls' hearts tremble. However, before they could ask anything, Ning Fan had already stepped on the ground. 3 marks immortal cloud appeared on the ground, carrying the two girls, and gently floated up to the sky, following behind him. Honghong, take a rest on the cloud. Weiliang, help me pick up their sense beads. His tone was calm, but there was an invincible qi that was ready to burst out. In Ning Fan's eyes, the moment he appeared, all the ghosts in front of him would die for sure. As soon as his voice faded, he shook the cauldron ring. Then, the little sable that hadn't shown itself for a long time fell into his arms, and lazily shook its head. The little sable had already recovered her peak gold core cultivation. Her overbearing aura swept across thousands of miles of the third region. Under the influence of her demonic qi, the strength of the ghosts began to be suppressed to varying degrees. Qing Hengxing and the other ghosts who were closest to the little sable were even more frightened by the demonic qi. Meiji has recovered her peak gold core cultivation. Not good run now. None of the ghosts in the third region can withstand a single blow from her. Almost in the blink of an eye, the 16 ghosts and 16 streaks of light fled in different directions. If Mei Chun was an early gold core expert, they would still dare to chase after her. But now, they would die if they didn't escape. In their opinion, no matter how powerful Mei Chun was, she could only chase after them one by one. They would definitely be able to escape alive if they split up. Those who were killed could only blame it on their bad luck. Fellow Taoists died, not me. Who would care about who? However, Ning Fan didn't have the intention to let Mei Chun take action, because it wasn't necessary. You don't have to take action. I'm too lazy to take action. Under Mei Chen's suppression, the strength of each of the ghosts was sealed. Even Mu Weiliang and Ning Honghong felt their magical power stagnant. They couldn't understand why Ning Fan would travel with the dignified demon sovereign. As for the dignified demon sovereign Mei Chun, she was lying in Ning Fan's embrace like a demonic pet. Under the suppression of Mei Chen's demonic qi, the intermediate gold core ghost's magical power and spirit sense were suppressed to peak harmonious spirit, a whole realm lower. As for Qing Hengxing and Qing Wuwei, they were both late gold core and early gold core respectively, but now their spirit sense was suppressed to early gold core. Their previous arrogant aura was gone. The gold core ghosts tried their best to escape. In just a blink of an eye, they were already more than 10 li away. However, Ning Fan's eyes flickered with a cold light. In his sea of consciousness, there was a clanging sound of a sword. The speed of his spirit sense was even faster. Fan of the spirit sense of, and the speed. The spirit sense of the area. Of. Ning of. In just an instant, apart from Qing Hengxing, all the other ghosts that were swept by Ning Fan's spirit sense let out a blood-curdling screech. It was as if they were slashed by the sword qi. Each of their ghost bodies was slashed and they died instantly. Their blood splashed on the ground. Fan of. Even if he of spirit, even if he was of blood. Qing as he was he. Of Xing was. Of. Impossible. What did he do? Why am I seriously injured? Why were so many gold core experts killed in a single encounter? Ning Fan would never answer Qing Hengxing's question. He brought the small sable and the two girls to the front of Qing Hengxing. His expression was still cold. Aren't you going to escape? His tone was indifferent. But in Qing Hengxing's ears, it was as painful as being pierced by a sword. At this moment, Ning Fan's image became more and more mysterious and terrifying in Qing Hengxing's eyes. His whole body was trembling. Under Ning Fan's stare, he was like a lamb waiting to be slaughtered. What did you do? No one can kill so many experts without being noticed. He was bluffing, but it showed the fear in his heart. You don't need to know. Ning Fan's words were cold. Separation Slayer pierced towards Qing Hengxing's chest with the power of burning. I will die. I will really die. Coughing out a mouthful of black blood, Qing Hengxing's expression was filled with a trace of resentment. He was a dignified late gold core expert. Was he going to die in the hands of a harmonious spirit junior? No. Since he was going to die either way, he might as well fight with his life on the line. He used his last trace of magical power to cast a spell. Before the Separation Slayer could burn his body, his soul escaped from his body and rushed towards Ning Fan's sea of consciousness. The qi flowing around his body was somewhat similar to Li Jihuan, who cultivated the body-seizing evil technique, but the difference in power was like heaven and earth. Body-seizing? I didn't expect you to have such a technique. Unfortunately, you will regret it. Ning Fan was slightly startled. He didn't expect Qing Hengxing to know the body-seizing evil technique. The body-seizing evil technique was also known as the undying evil technique. As long as the soul wasn't destroyed, it could enter the sea of consciousness of others, devour their consciousness, and seize their body to be reborn. It seemed like Qing Hengxing wanted to seize Ning Fan's body. Unfortunately, Qing Hengxing was destined to be disappointed. No matter how strong a cultivator was, his sea of consciousness was still fragile. Once it was invaded, the consequences would be extremely serious. However, Ning Fan didn't stop Qing Hengxing's act of seizing his body. He allowed a trace of his soul to enter his sea of consciousness. Qing Hengxing was delighted. He was delighted that Ning Fan was so arrogant that he ignored his body-seizing evil technique. He sneered in his heart. As long as I seize Ning Fan's body, and use Ning Fan's body to be reborn, not only will I not die, I can even become a living person, leave the demon sinister forest and return to the Yang world. However, this trace of delight turned into great sorrow the moment it entered Ning Fan's sea of consciousness. It was as if a basin of ice water was poured on Qing Hengxing's head, making him shudder. How could this be impossible? This is absolutely impossible. He roared in despair. Did you see it? The corner of Ning Fan's mouth curved into a cold smile. The reason why he dared to let Qing Hengxing enter his sea of consciousness was because his sea of consciousness had already undergone a mutation. What was the sea of consciousness? It was just the sea of consciousness. The sea of consciousness of an ordinary person was located in the heavenly spirit. It was opened by the spirit sense and evolved into an ocean of spirit sense. Occasionally, there were powerful cultivators who could cultivate their sea of consciousness into a sea of fire, a glacier, and many other forms. These people were all ruthless people who could dominate a region. Below Ning Fan's sea of consciousness was a sea of blue and silver sword qi. Above Ning Fan's sea of consciousness were countless small blue and silver swords, hanging upside down in the sky. Sword consciousness. The sea of consciousness that was condensed by sword qi. In ancient times, only a few true immortals could master this kind of sea of consciousness. It was rare for them to cultivate it by chance. Ning Fan, on the other hand, relied on the spirit sense in the immortal execution, sword qi, to cultivate the embryonic form of the sword-shaped sea of consciousness. Although the sea of consciousness was filled with sword qi, it was still not perfect. Even so, every trace of spirit sense was like sword qi, revealing the might of immortal execution. The spirit sense in the form of sword qi was called sword sense. It was common sense that spirit sense couldn't hurt people. However, sword sense could kill people invisibly from 1,000 miles away. Ning Fan seemed to be standing with his hands clasped behind his back, and didn't make a move. In fact, he had already used his ultimate killing technique on the gold core ghost. The power of the sword sense depended on increasing the amount of sword qi in it to advance. Ning Fan didn't care about this for the time being. It was enough for him to kill the gold core expert of Green Clan with just his sword sense. In Ning Fan's sea of consciousness that was filled with dense killing intent, Qing Hengxing's remnant soul showed a regretful expression for the first time. He shouldn't have provoked Ning Fan. He shouldn't have used the secret technique to enter Ning Fan's sea of consciousness. Even a void fragmentation old monster wouldn't have a good ending if they used the secret technique to possess Ning Fan, let alone himself. In the future, Ning Fan might be able to use the sword sense to trap countless old devils to death. Obviously, this had nothing to do with Qing Hengxing. Let me go. Qing Hengxing's words were trembling. But who would pity the crocodile's tears? Ning Fan's eyes flickered with cold light. In his sea of consciousness, his spirit sense swept across. Hundreds of millions of sword qi swept across and crushed Qing Hengxing's remnant soul, turning it into nourishment for the sword sense sea. Possession was the same as seeking one's own death. Sense beads, I've picked them up. Mu Weiliang's trembling hands held dozens of gold core sense beads and passed them to Ning Fan. Fear, it was terrifying. The current Ning Fan was as cold as a sword, giving Mu Weiliang an unprecedented feeling of unfamiliarity. Don't be afraid. Ning Fan could see the panic in Mu Weiliang's eyes. He smiled faintly and patted her dusty hair. At this moment, there was no sword might in his eyes. There was only the same easygoing look as before. After keeping the sense beads, Ning Fan leaped onto the immortal cloud. He carried the small sable and went straight to Green Clan. Ning Fan's smile was still the same as before, with a hint of teasing and concern. It made Mu Weiliang feel relieved and let down her guard. On the immortal cloud, Ning Fan no longer concealed his qi and the small sable. His spirit sense swept across the 300 li radius. In this way, he would certainly become the target of the entire third region. But Ning Fan didn't need to hide anymore. After integrating the sense force in the immortal execution sword qi, Ning Fan not only cultivated the sword sense sea of consciousness, but also advanced the strength of his spirit sense to late gold core realm. Along with the advancement of his spirit sense incarnation also advanced to late gold core realm. In the third region, his strength was almost at the pinnacle. In addition to the suppression of the small sable's demonic qi, even a half-step nascent soul ghost could only exert the strength of late gold core realm in front of Ning Fan. Today, he would sweep through the third region, and his first target was undoubtedly Green Clan. Today, Green Clan will be annihilated. His words were arrogant. But with his sword sense and incarnation, it was enough for him to run amok in this place. The immortal execution order of the great elder of Green Clan was indeed a great kindness. It almost killed Ning Fan. This enmity must be repaid one day. Ning Fan's immortal cloud was flying very slowly. He was waiting for countless reckless ghosts to come to his death. He didn't know which ghost Mei Chun had a relationship with, but he wouldn't let go of any ghost that came to his doorstep. The road to Green Clan would be a bloody road with mountains of white bones. Just as he flew for more than 10 li, more than 10 early gold core ghosts chased after him. They were looking at Ning Fan and Mei Chun. One of them had a fiery and lecherous expression. His eyes were moving back and forth between Mu and Ning Fan. Haha, Mei Ji is really here. Kill her. Kill her and report to Bone Emperor. A living person? Hehe, I know. This person must be the one who killed Bone Emperor's incarnation. Let's kill him as well. What a beautiful woman. I want the one in white. Then I want the one in red. A group of early gold core ghosts chased after them. They didn't know that Ning Fan had already locked onto them with his spirit sense when they were within 300 li of them. They were already dead. Break. Ning Fan's indifferent voice was heard. He didn't even need the help of the small sable's demonic qi. In an instant, the sea of consciousness of the 13 early gold core ghosts shattered. Their corpses fell to the ground and blood splashed on the ground. Their sense beads were kept away by Ning Fan with a wave of his sleeve. 500 li away, a peak gold core old man in red coincidentally peeped at Ning Fan with his spirit sense. His facial expression changed drastically when he saw the strange scene. He was the great elder of Red Clan, an existence that controlled countless ghosts. But this was the first time in his life that he felt a chill down his spine when he saw a harmonious spirit junior. Impossible, this person is only a late harmonious spirit cultivator. How could he kill 13 gold core ghosts in an instant? This is simply absurd. He originally wanted to fish in troubled waters, but after seeing Ning Fan's strange means, he didn't dare to make a move. Immediately he made a decision. Not only he couldn't make a move, even the entire Red Clan was not allowed to make a move against Ning Fan. This person must not be offended. He firmly shook his head and listed Ning Fan as the person that he couldn't afford to offend in Demon Sinister Forest. It didn't matter to him whether Green Clan was destroyed or not. What did it have to do with him whether Bone Emperor was angry or not? His Red Clan wasn't on good terms with Bone Emperor and the 12 Ghost clans. The only thing that concerned him was Mu Whaleyang and Ning Honghong on Ning Fan's immortal cloud. These two girls looked familiar to the old man, but he shook his head and decided to ignore them. He left in a hurry to avoid getting involved in this matter. The dignified Great Elder of Red Clan looked a little panicked when he left. Chapter 74. The early gold core ghosts were shrouded by the sword sense, and their sea of consciousness was crushed when they entered the 300 li radius of Ning Fan's spirit sense. The intermediate gold core ghosts were suppressed to early gold core spirit sense by the small sable's demonic chi, and were instantly killed. Only late gold core ghosts had the strength to reach Ning Fan. However, once their cultivation was suppressed by the demonic chi, they would end up like the second and third elders of Green Clan. Death. Ning Fan's 3 marks immortal cloud was now covered with black blood chi. It was a good immortal cloud, but now it was filthy and filled with the smell of blood. He had killed more than 500 ghosts along the way. Of course, most of them were early gold core. Some were intermediate, and only a few were late gold core. An early stage ghost was worth 2,000 contribution points, a mid-stage one was worth 5,000, and a late-stage one was worth 10,000. Ning Fan's sect contribution points had already increased to a terrifying figure of 189 million. Even the odd part had been erased. But at this moment, he didn't have the mood to look at it. His face was slightly pale. He kept taking medicine to restore his spirit sense. Using the sword sense to kill ghosts was definitely a heavy burden on him. However, he wanted to establish his prestige. He wanted to use the strongest and weirdest means to strike fear into the ghosts in the 3rd region. After collecting the beads, Ning Fan's eyes swept across the hazy sky. 300 li away, there was a group of black dots peeping at Ning Fan from afar. However, none of them dared to attack him. The Green Ghost River came into view from afar. After crossing the river, it would be the Green Clan. Outside the Green Clan, there were 9 layers of Spirit Sense Grand Formations. The first 8 layers were Core Realm Grand Formations with black fog covering the sky. The 9th layer was a Nascent Realm Grand Formation with blood fog. The Great Elder of Green Clan, Qinglingshan, had received the news that the second elder and the other experts were annihilated. His face was filled with shock. He set up 9 layers of formations and waited for Ning Fan's arrival. Ning Fan kept the immortal cloud and leaped down from it. He stood in the sky, leaving the 2 girls with the small sable in his arms. He walked towards the black fog alone. He stopped 300 meters away from the black fog. The black fog in front of him parted, and a green-robed old man walked out. This man's aura was as heavy as the sea. His eyes were like torches. He wore a green robe and carried a green sword. This man was the Great Elder of Green Clan, Qinglingshan. Behind him, including Chu Han, were the remaining 8 gold core late-stage experts. As for the intermediate and early gold core ghosts, they were guarding in the formation, not daring to appear in front of Ning Fan's. Qinglingshan had already received the report that Ning Fan had a strange technique that could instantly kill early, mid and even late gold core experts within 300 li radius. It would be extremely dangerous to face Ning Fan alone. Qinglingshan didn't want to believe such a ridiculous statement, but he had no choice but to believe it because of the facts. The only thing that didn't change was Qinglingshan's usual coldness, arrogance. He stood with his hands clasped behind his back. His eyes emitted a hint of green light, looking at Ning Fan threateningly. "Zhou Ming? I didn't come looking for you, but you came looking for me. Hee, what a reckless kid. This old man doesn't care what kind of sinister magic you used to kill so many of my fellow ghosts. But under this old man's 9 great formation, you have no chance of survival. 9 levels of green activate." Qing Lingshan and the other 8 late-stage elders each held a green wooden token, which was the key to controlling the grand formation. The divine senses of the 9 people sank into the great formation. An extremely dangerous aura, accompanied by waves of sinister dragon roars, swept out from the great formation and transformed into 9 green bone dragons that were 1,000 feet tall. Each of the 9 dragons had the chi of a gold core. The one controlled by Qing Lingshan even had the chi of a half-step nascent soul realm expert. Moreover, it was formed by the formation force and sense power. It had the shape of a dragon, making it hard to kill. The 9 levels of green, 8 cores and 1 nascent soul realm formation was definitely the pinnacle of Qing Lingshan's Tao of formation. Once the formation was activated and the 9 dragons were summoned, Qing Lingshan's expression became even colder. "Zhou Ming, this old man will give you a chance. If you cripple your own cultivation and hand over the evil magic that killed hundreds of ghosts, I will spare your life." Qing Lingshan wasn't only determined to defeat Ning Fan, but he also wanted to use the magic that killed the ghosts. The only thing that Qing Lingshan was afraid of was the small sable in Ning Fan's arms, Mei Chen. However, it was only fear. They had the advantage in numbers, and they even had the 9 great array formation. They could just wait for their prey to come to them, and they could bully them with their numbers. Why would they fear Charming Dawn? However, his threat was only met with a hint of mockery from Ning Fan. Late gold core ghosts were powerful existences even in Yu country, but they were nothing in Ning Fan's eyes. As for the 9 great formations, they used spirit sense as the driving force, so Ning Fan wasn't afraid of them. He patted the small sable's back. The small sable understood his intention and released its demonic chi like a black wind. Under the influence of this demonic chi, the cultivation of Qing Lingshan and the other late gold core experts began to drop rapidly. Apart from Qing Lingshan, who had a slightly higher cultivation and could still maintain his intermediate gold core cultivation, the other elders' cultivation had dropped to early gold core. At this moment, Ning Fan shouted. His spirit sense swept across like a sword, causing the 9 experts to break out in cold sweat at the same time. "Break!" After this word, the invisible sword sense pierced into the sea of consciousness of the 9 experts. The 9 elders of Green Clan suffered different degrees of injuries, but they weren't serious and they weren't dead yet. At the same time, there was a green jade pendant in each of the 9 people's bosoms. It shattered and turned into a strand of ghostly aura that carried a rotten and ruined smell. "Oh, they didn't die." Ning Fan was slightly surprised. Apart from Qing Lingshan, the cultivation of the other 8 should have dropped to early gold core. It was really unexpected that they didn't die under his sword sense. His eyes fell on the rotten ghost chi, and he immediately understood why he didn't kill the 8 of them. Death substitution order. His expression changed slightly. None of the 9 experts, including Qing Lung Mountain, had expected Ning Fan to act so quickly. Moreover, he managed to break the death substitution order that the 9 of them had prepared beforehand with just a single move. The death substitution order was obtained by the Great Elder of Green Clan, just like the Immortal Execution Order. The effect of the Immortal Execution Order was to kill, while the effect of the death substitution order was to protect one's life. By sealing a trace of his soul power in the token, it was enough to withstand a strike from a nascent soul expert. Qing Lingshan still had 2 immortal execution orders left. As for the death substitution order, Qing Lingshan originally had 12 death substitution orders, but 9 of them were destroyed by Ning Fan, leaving only 3. However, he couldn't care less about his heart at this moment. There was only one thought in his mind: escape. Quickly enter the formation and kill this man with the formation. Qing Lingshan and the other 8 experts retreated into the misty formation in panic, but their faces were still filled with lingering fear. Before Ning Fan attacked, Qing Lingshan still looked down on Ning Fan, But at this moment, he was extremely afraid of Ning Fan. This kid's means are too heaven-defying. Without the death substitution order, I would have been severely injured, and the 8 of you would have died for sure. Not only Qing Lingshan was panic-stricken, but the other elders were also looking at Ning Fan with fear through the misty formation. As for Chu Han, she had already met Ning Fan twice before. The shock in her heart was far greater than the others. Her beautiful eyes were filled with complicated emotions. The first time she met Ning Fan, she only thought that he was a second revolution pill master. So she treated him politely, but that was all. She didn't put Ning Fan in her eyes at all. The second time, she wanted to rob the vault during the chaos. But Ning Fan cut open the defensive grand formation and robbed the vault first. She began to fear Ning Fan. She knew that he was hiding his true strength, but she still didn't think that his true strength was stronger than hers. But this time, after a few days, Ning Fan gave her the feeling that he was her natural enemy. She only felt fear. Chu Han's pretty face turned pale. This time, she survived Ning Fan's strange magical technique with the help of the death substitution order. Next time, without the death substitution order, would she be able to survive Ning Fan's magical technique? What should she do? We must not leave the grand formation. As long as we hide in the formation, this kid's magical technique won't be able to reach us. Then, we can use the power of the grand formation to kill him. The same thought emerged in the hearts of the 9 experts at the same time. Each of them waved their wooden tokens to control the green dragons, formed by the formation power. If they could go back in time, they would never want to offend Ning Fan again, but they couldn't regret their lives. They could only seek life and death. The 9 dragons could summon the wind and rain, spit fire and thunder, and all of them were attacking Ning Fan alone. As long as I don't leave the grand formation, he won't be able to do anything to me. After all, this is the combination of 8 core grand formations and 1 nascent grand formation. It's the best formation I've ever created in my life. Qing Lingshan's eyes carried a trace of conceit. With this grand formation, he wouldn't be weaker than anyone in his life. When his eyes fell on the 9 layers green formation light, he would feel a sense of security. But at the next moment, this sense of security was taken away by Ning Fan. A trace of silver light broke through the layers of mist, like a lightning that pierced through the dark clouds. It was invincible. Destroy. Ning Fan snorted coldly. His palm moved, and a bright silver starlight sword shadow broke through the mist, piercing through the torsos of the 9 green skeletal dragons. The 9 skeletal dragons were formed by the power of the formation. They were the power of spirit sense. They were intangible, and couldn't be harmed by the sword chi. Even the sword chi that was as thick as a mountain couldn't do any harm to the dragon shadows. Gold core sword chi, you have really impressed me, but my formation dragons will never be able to destroy it. Qing Lingshan smiled ferociously, but at the next moment his smile froze. To his surprise, he found that with just a slash of the sword light, the 9 dragons began to burn. They let out a mournful dragon roar and began to perish. How is this possible? What kind of divine ability can slash the formless dragon shadows? Qing Lingshan's palm was already cold and wet. His back was shivering unconsciously. The immortal dragon shadow was easily broken by Ning Fan's sword strike. To Qing Lingshan, this was definitely more shocking than the fact that Ning Fan's could kill an early gold core expert in an instant. Could it be that this kid's sword has the soul-burning divine ability? Not good. If this kid really has such a void divine ability, I'm afraid my grand formation won't be able to withstand it. He was at a loss. The 9 layers green grand formation that he laid was a pure spirit force formation. It was most afraid of the soul-burning divine ability. He raised his head and saw Ning Fan's separation slayer. There was a trace of blood on the sword, and it was filled with baleful chi. White bone chi began to spread in the sky under his feet. It was cold and bewitching. A streak of blood-red sword chi let out a wail that sounded like a ghost's wail as it pierced through the 9 layers of formation light. Before the formation light could recover, the spirit force of the 9 layers of formation started to burn violently under the soul-burning divine ability. In an instant, there was nothing left. It's broken my 9 layers green grand formation, my green clan. Qing Lingshan's eyes revealed a desperate look. Ning Fan was familiar with this kind of look. It was the look of a wild beast that had nowhere to run and a desperado. Kill! Qing Lingshan charged towards them. Nearly 1,000 gold core experts of the Green Clan soared into the sky. Even though Ning Fan had the sword sense technique, he couldn't kill 1,000 gold core experts at the same time. His face revealed a ruthless expression. He swallowed 100 sense beads in one gulp. Without any refining or absorption, he channeled the vast spirit force into his sea of consciousness. In just an instant, the strength of his spirit sense increased rapidly. Peak gold core false nascent. Blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth. His sea of consciousness was obviously severely injured, but with the help of the spirit force from the 100 sense beads, his spirit sense had reached a terrifying realm. Break! An extremely powerful spirit sense swept out from Ning Fan. Under the sweeping of the spirit sense, the bodies of the gold core experts of the Green Clan began to explode into blood mist. In just one move, nearly 100 ghosts were crushed to death. As for the remaining ones, they were severely injured and fled in all directions. The 8 late gold core elders, including Chu Han, had their sea of consciousness severely injured. They kept spurting out blood, but they couldn't care less about their injuries. They fled 1,000 miles away with all their might. As for the great elder Qing Lingshan, he was at the center of Ning Fan's spirit sense attack. Thousands of spirit sense swords slashed his body into a bloody pulp and burned his ghost into nothingness. Thousands of gold core experts of the Green Clan were brutally killed by this young man in front of them. The Green Clan was annihilated. From today onwards, the Green Clan will no longer exist in the demon sinister forest. Ning Fan's cold voice reverberated in the sky of 300 miles. Countless experts who were watching the battle were terrified. His face looked weak, but his eyes were as sharp as before. At this moment, it might be a good chance to launch a sneak attack and kill Ning Fan. However, Ning Fan waved his hand, and the hundreds of gold core sense beads on the ground were kept into his storage pouch. This action made the experts who were watching from a few hundred li away shiver in fear. With so many sense beads, if Ning Fan went crazy again, it was hard to guarantee that he wouldn't annihilate another clan. This kid is ruthless and ruthless. His madness is unpredictable. We must not provoke him. The experts who usually had their eyes on the top of their heads retreated far away, to avoid getting involved in any trouble. Their original plan of killing Ning Fan and pleasing Bone Sovereign was gone. It was better to let Bone Sovereign deal with Ning Fan himself. It was too dangerous for them to deal with him. In Sinister Sparrow Sect, the Merit Monument had a problem for the first time. Ning Fan's contribution points had exceeded 2 million for the second time, reaching a terrifying value of 15 million, ranking him 5th in the sect. Impossible. The Merit Monument has a problem again. Bai Fading slammed the table and stood up. His face was full of shock. He looked at Sinister Sparrow, hoping that Sinister Sparrow would clear Ning Fan's contribution points for the second time. He didn't believe that Ning Fan could get such a huge amount of contribution points by killing gold core ghosts again and again. Chapter 75. A day later, he slightly recovered his magical power and decided to do one thing. He needed to collect enough sense beads to break through to the peak of gold core realm. According to his estimation, it was impossible to break through to the peak of spirit sense without 1,000 gold core sense beads. But now, he only had less than 100 sense beads left after annihilating Green Clan. If he didn't have any sense beads, then he would rob them. He leaped onto the immortal cloud with the small sable in his arms. Mu Weiliang and Ning Honghong followed behind him. Ning Honghong's body was still weak, but under Ning Fan's treatment, her complexion gradually turned better. Mu Weiliang stood on top of the cloud. She was still surprised that Ning Fans could annihilate Green Clan with just one move. The immortal cloud flew straight to the encampment of Black Clan. Black Clan had more experts than Green Clan. The Great Elder was also a peak gold core expert. But when Ning Fan's silhouette appeared in the sky above Black Clan, the entire clan panicked. Evil. The evil star is here. quickly activate the grand formation of the clan. The patrolling early Gold Corps ghost trembled in fear when he saw Ning Fan's gaze at him. He heard that this human in front of him was a madman. He annihilated Green Clan alone. All early Gold Corps ghosts within 300 miles of him would die without exception. He activated the grand formation in a panic. All the experts of Black Clan immediately realized that there was an enemy invasion. Ning Fans held his chin and revealed an inexplicable smile. He didn't know that his reputation had reached this level. He didn't come here to kill people. He just wanted to use his reputation to extort some sense beads. The more famous he was, the better it would be. His eyes moved. He patted his storage pouch and took out the Dan fragmentation cauldron. His mind was recalling the time he spent with the old monster, including the time when the old monster destroyed his sect. Master, I will improve my cultivation to restore your strength and eliminate that evil disciple, Moksha Emperor. His eyes suddenly turned cold. He would never forget the warmth of 7 Apricot City for the rest of his life. He pointed at the Dan fragmentation cauldron and said coldly, "Hey Wumian, come out now." Hey Wumian was the name of the great elder of Black Clan. And Ning Fan's tone was almost the same as the old monster. Immediately, the Dan fragmentation cauldron smashed onto the grand formation, splashing countless formation lights. This formation light was obviously not as good as the Green Clan's. After all, in the third region, it was rare to see a Green Clan's great elder in the Tao of formation. The cauldron shattered the formation light. With 2 cauldrons, the ground collapsed. 3 cauldrons, half of the Black Clan had collapsed. The whole Black Clan was in chaos. The dignified clan protection formation was broken so easily. The great elder of Black Clan, He Changmian, was a woman with a cold face. She gritted her teeth and soared into the sky with more than 10 late Gold Corps experts, staring at Ning Fans, as if they were facing a formidable enemy. Zhou Ming, Green Clan provoked you, so you annihilated Green Clan. We have nothing to say. However, Black Clan has never provoked you. So why did you attack us? I'm only here for the sense beads. Give me 100 sense beads, and I'll leave immediately. Ning Fan's expression remained unchanged. His gaze swept across the great elder of Black Clan's delicate body, which made He Changmian's face turn red from embarrassment and anger. What a frivolous and arrogant boy. If it wasn't for your amazing strength, I would have dug your eyeballs out. Great elder, he wants 100 sense beads. Why don't we just give it to him? A few elders felt relieved when they heard that Ning Fans only came to rob something. However, a late Gold Corps old man with a bony and stubborn look objected. No. Although he is robbing the inconspicuous sense beads, how can we, the Black Clan, keep our face if we are robbed in public? He Changmian glared at the old man. This old man was really ignorant. If it wasn't for the fact that they were in a disadvantageous position, would she allow Ning Fans to take advantage of her? The other elders lived like princes. Would they bow and scrape to Ning Fan? As for Ning Fan, he wasn't surprised to see someone objecting. He gently pinched the small sable's hind leg, touching a place that shouldn't be touched. The small sable's body trembled, and its eyes revealed a look of extreme anger. How dare you touch my place? Who asked you not to release your demonic chi? If you don't release your demonic chi, I will continue to touch. Ning Fan teased. Shameless. The small sable's body trembled. She was afraid that Ning Fans would touch her place again. Immediately, she released her demonic chi that ghosts feared, covering the sun like a dark cloud. Under this demonic chi, the strength of all the elders of the Black Clan, including He Changmian, began to be greatly sealed. He Changmian's pretty face turned pale. She knew that if she didn't agree, Ning Fan would attack the Black Clan. Young Master Zhou Ming, wait. My Black Clan is willing to give you 100 sense beads. She clenched her teeth and clenched her fists. Finally, she agreed to Ning Fan's request. Ning Fan smiled and patted the small sable's back, making her retract her demonic chi. He deeply looked at He Changmian. He liked women who could see the big picture. After leaving the Black Clan, Ning Fan continued to sweep through the third region. He didn't kill a single ghost. He had already established enough prestige. If he killed more people, it would hurt their feelings and make it hard for him to rob. Killing 9 enemy cities, and leaving some leeway was the best time to snatch things. Yes, the old devil taught him. Baiji, come out. Ning Fan's Dan fragmentation cauldron fiercely smashed the grand formation of the White Clan. Chung Kong, come out. The Chung clan couldn't escape from misfortune. Du Shenghong, come out. The grand formation of the Du clan was destroyed. Ning Fan's last stop was the Bone clan, after sweeping through the 11 clans that were close to the Bone sovereign. When Ning Fan stood on the peak of the Bone clan and gazed at the hundreds of miles of skeletal buildings, his eyes froze for the first time. The Bone clan wasn't simple. The power of the Bone formation wasn't any weaker than a nascent realm grand formation. Moreover, there seemed to be a kind of extremely cold white bone chi in the grand formation. It seemed to be very beneficial to nourish the white bone mountain sword chi in Ning Fan's body. This white bone chi was extraordinary. Ning Fan pondered for a long time and found out that it was one of the 12 heavenly frost cold chi. But it wasn't the black yin chi. His face was filled with joy. He didn't think that he would have such a good harvest in the demon sinister forest. Although he didn't find the black yin chi, he found the white bone cold chi. Since I have found a treasure, how can I not take it? This time, he didn't show up immediately to break the grand formation of the Bone clan. Instead, he quietly descended and devoured the white bone chi along the periphery of the Bone clan. For 3 days, the grand formation of the Bone clan continued to weaken. At first, no one paid attention to it. But later on, the guardian of the formation noticed the abnormality of the grand formation and reported it to his superior. The great elder of the Bone clan, Guemo, was a white-haired old man wearing a bone armor. His face was as gloomy as water. He received reports one after another that the grand formation of the other ghost clans was destroyed by a young man and robbed of their sense beads. Apart from the 3 ghost clans that were close to Meiji, and the Green clan that had been annihilated, only the Bone clan hadn't been invaded yet. Zhou Ming, this name sounds so familiar. Gumo's mind recalled a few days ago when he was chasing after Mei Chun. He met a timid young man on the peak of a mountain. That young man seemed to be called Zhou Ming. That day, he seemed to be disdainful of that young man. No, it shouldn't be the same person. There are so many people with the name of Zhou Ming in the world. He shook his head and pondered why Zhou Ming hadn't come to the Bone clan for 3 days. He had improved the power of the grand formation to punish this Zhou Ming. But at this moment, Guemo received a report from his subordinate that the white bone chi in the grand formation of the Bone clan was disappearing. Impossible. This is the bone prison chi bestowed by the Bone Emperor. It's one of the 12 heavenly frost cold chi. Unless someone devours and refines it, it will never disappear. Not good. That Zhou Ming has already come to our Bone clan to seize the bone prison chi. But he discovered it too late. Before he could order a thorough investigation, the ground of the entire Bone clan suddenly rumbled and shook violently. The white bone cold chi in the grand formation of the Bone clan was forcefully extracted. The remaining formation light wasn't even at the nascent soul realm. 1 cauldron bone-breaking formation. 2 cauldrons bone-breaking formation. 3 cauldrons. More than half of the Bone clan had turned into ruins. Guemo, come out now. When Ning Fan shouted out those words, Guemo, who was in the main hall of the Bone clan, was shocked. Zhou Ming was here. But what shocked him the most wasn't Zhou Ming's intrusion, but the familiar voice. It was exactly the same voice as the timid young man he met that day. It's him. It's him. He soared to the sky in a flash and stared at Ning Fan's face in disbelief. It's really him. Guemo looked at Ning Fan deeply. His hostility towards Ning Fan was suddenly concealed. When he met Ning Fan, he didn't see through Ning Fan's identity as a living person. He didn't see through Ning Fan's cultivation base. He also didn't see through Ning Fan's false words. This young man had hidden his strength well. He wasn't a boorish man who was all brawn and no brains. Since this young man dared to come to the Bone clan, he must have the strength to annihilate the Bone clan. Not only did he seize the bone prison chi from his grand formation, but he also broke the grand formation with just a wave of his hand. I want sense beads, 100 of them. Ning Fan's plain words were still overbearing, but it turned into a bitter smile in Gumo's heart. It's better to give it to him. In case this young man's hidden strength wasn't as simple as destroying Green Clan, he might end up the same as Qinglingshan. Chapter 76. The Sable and the Two Girls Guarded Ningfan. Ningfan sat alone in the bamboo forest for 6 days. After refining nearly 1,000 sense beads, his spirit sense had reached the peak gold core realm. Peak gold core spirit sense. In Yu country, Ningfan's cultivation base might not be high, but in terms of the strength of his spirit sense, he was definitely in the top 10. He exhaled a mouthful of turbid qi and counted his harvest in the demon sinister forest. There were still more than 100 sense beads left, but they were useless to his current spirit sense. The small marten had stolen quite a lot of spirit herbs, but it had managed to snatch back a lot of them. There wasn't much of a change in the quantity. It had lost a few of the main ingredients, such as the nascent formation pill, but it had gained a large amount of medicinal ingredients needed for the spirit-raising pill and the spirit-strengthening pill. As for the magical treasures, there were 5 tool spirit magical treasures in Ningfan's storage pouch. He could use them to devour the tool spirit art in the future, to cultivate the second art of divine art, defense art. As for the 5 peak high-grade flying swords, Ningfan could barely use them with his current spirit sense. However, he could still exert 1/10 of their power, which was more than enough to kill an intermediate gold core cultivator. As for the Eastern Ocean bell, this bell gave him an extremely mysterious feeling. Ningfan's magical strength wasn't enough to wield a supreme-grade magical treasure. If he used his spirit sense, he might be able to exert 1/100th of its power. What concerned Ningfan the most was the inscription on the bell. If he could decipher it, he might have a great opportunity. Apart from that, Ningfan also seized 2 immortal execution orders and 3 death substitution orders from the Great Elder of Green Clan. The immortal execution order could kill experts below nascent soul realm. The death substitution order could save one's life once. The moment he obtained the death substitution order, he gave Mu Weiliang and Ning Honghong 1 each. He infused a trace of soul force into his own and wore it. It seemed that he had accidentally discovered the way to consume the Jade Royal Dan, which was to relieve pain with pain. On the prairie, the flame could extinguish the flame, and one wouldn't feel any pain at all. There was a great truth hidden in this, but it wasn't something that Ningfan could comprehend now. However, he understood one thing. If he wanted to consume the 4th Jade Royal Dan, he didn't need to wait for decades. He only needed to endure the same level of pain, and that would be enough. When he entered the demon sinister forest, his cultivation base was only at the intermediate harmonious spirit realm. But now, his cultivation base had broken through to the late harmonious spirit realm, and his spirit sense had reached the terrifying peak harmonious spirit realm. He had obtained Tion's inheritance, the 3rd style of the divine thought technique, cultivated the divine thought incarnation, and condensed the sword thought C. Even in the outside world, he could kill an early-stage gold core realm old monster in an instant. He could even kill a middle-stage gold core old monster. If he exerted his full strength, he could also fight a late-stage gold core old monster. In Sinister Sparrow Sect, excluding Sinister Sparrow Z, and the missing Ling Giku, Ningfan was probably the 3rd strongest expert. Other than the improvement of his cultivation base, he had also accidentally obtained a rib bone of Bone Sovereign, which could increase the power of his Separation Slayer sword. Separation Slayer was already a low-rank high-rank sword. Once it was refined again, its power would at least reach the middle rank or even higher. As for the Bone Prison Chi that was ranked 11th among the 12 Heavenly Frost Cold Chi, it was purely an unexpected gain. However, Ningfan could only absorb the Bone Prison Chi into the Yin-Yang locket. He couldn't devour it, because it required too much preparation. Black Demon Flame, White Bone Flame and Bone Prison Chi. If he could steal the Black Yin Chi in the future, he would have 4 kinds of Heavenly Frost and Earth Fire. If he could completely refine them, he would be able to fight a nascent soul cultivator, even if his cultivation base hadn't reached the nascent soul realm. It's time to find a time to cultivate the Black Demon art and Snow Treading art. And I can't delay the cultivation of the Yin-Yang transformation. To open the 2nd level of the Yin-Yang locket, I need to collect flames and have intercourse with a nascent soul female cultivator. I don't have to worry about the flames, but a nascent soul cauldron is hard to capture. The yin-yang locket is my biggest reliance. Without the yin-yang locket, Ning Fan wouldn't be able to capture those beautiful and powerful female cultivators. Without the yin-yang locket, he wouldn't be able to collect the heavenly frost cold chi and the earth vein demonic flame. Without the yin-yang locket, Ning Fan wouldn't be able to open the inheritance of the Empyrean Sky Remnant Scroll by chance. Ning Fan didn't know what the second level of the yin-yang locket was, but he knew a little about the third level of the yin-yang locket after a conversation with the mysterious woman. Once the third level of the yin-yang locket was opened, he would be able to use the magical treasure space of the yin-yang locket, the profound yin world, and he would be able to save the mysterious woman. There were too many ways to increase one's strength, but Ning Fan knew that the most important thing was to increase his magical power and cultivation base. He was still a late harmonious spirit cultivator. Breaking through to the gold core realm was much more difficult than breaking through to the spirit sense realm. There was no shortcut in cultivation. He was afraid that he would need at least 10 years of seclusion to break through to the gold core realm. It seemed like there was another harvest, a huge amount of sect contribution points. His sect contribution points had reached 15 million after killing the group of ghosts and annihilating the Green Clan. He wondered how shocked Sinister Sparrow sect was right now. Sect contribution points could be exchanged for magical treasures and pills. Ning Fan didn't know what he could exchange for with so many contribution points. Why not exchange them for the Black Yin Chi? His eyes moved. He could discuss this matter with the sect master after returning to Sinister Sparrow sect. There was still half a day before he would leave. It was time to bid farewell to the girls. He walked towards the Green Ghost River quietly. The sable and the two girls were standing by the riverside in silence. Mu Weiliang looked a little listless, as if she sensed that Ning Fan was about to leave. Ning Honghong didn't show any expression, but her occasional frown showed that her heart wasn't completely unmoved. As for the sable, his eyes looked slightly complicated. The life and death restriction was about to dissipate. After that, Shi Mei Chun would no longer have any relationship with Ning Fan. The ghosts of Demon Sinister Forest couldn't leave this place. Once they did, they would immediately turn into ashes. He might be able to bring the girls out with the cauldron ring, but once they left the cauldron ring, they would vanish into thin air in less than an hour. I'm leaving. What's your plan for the future? Ning Fan asked softly. I'm going to Purple Clan. I've made up my mind. After I recover my strength, I'll fight the Bone Emperor again. Mei Chen wasn't timid. She seemed to be influenced by Ning Fan's courage. Sister Honghong and I will return to Red Clan. Mu Weiliang said in a low voice. Is that so? Oh yes, let me show you something. Ning Fan remained silent for a while. He shook the cauldron ring and took out a green coffin of extraordinary quality. Mu Weiliang and Ning Honghong didn't feel anything when the coffin was taken out, but Mei Chen immediately transformed into her human form. She didn't care about her nakedness and touched the green coffin with disbelief. This is the heavenly coffin of the ancient heavenly court. Where did you get it? The heavenly coffin was the burial place of the Jade Emperor. Didn't that mean that there was at least a corpse of a true immortal in this coffin? Mei Chen was too surprised that she didn't notice that she was naked in front of Ning Fan. A moment later, her pretty face was bleeding and she felt so ashamed that she wanted to die. Ning Fan found it funny and threw a robe to her. Of course, it was the robe that he had worn before. He didn't explain anything and gently moved the lid of the coffin. A beautiful face of a sleeping woman was revealed in the coffin. That face was somewhat similar to Mu Weiliang's. This is. When Ning Honghong and Mei Chen saw the face of the female corpse, they looked at Mu Weiliang with a strange expression. Mu Weiliang felt a headache and seemed to recall something. She squatted down and looked like she was in extreme pain. Ning Fan's speculation was confirmed. Mu Weiliang really had a great relationship with the female corpse. He closed the lid of the coffin and asked, Is this you? No, it seems like. I don't know. I didn't open the door. I was just waiting for someone. Mu Weiliang's face was filled with fear, as if she had seen something extremely terrifying. After a long time, she fainted due to the pain in her head. After closing the lid of the coffin, a faint claw grinding sound came from the green coffin. It made Ningfan's hair stand on end. He immediately kept the green coffin into the cauldron ring. This time, taking out the female corpse accelerated the transformation of the female corpse. Mu Weiliang fell into Ning Honghong's arms. She looked haggard. After a long time she woke up. However, she didn't know what had happened before. Who is that female corpse? What is her relationship with Sister Weiliang? Ning Honghong asked worriedly. I don't know. That's why I asked her. Ningfan frowned slightly. He had confirmed the relationship between Mu Weiliang and the female corpse. He also understood that the female corpse wasn't Mu Weiliang. Her aura didn't seem to be. Moreover, the moment the female corpse turned into a corpse, she revealed the same killing intent towards Mu Weiliang. As for Mei Chen, she was also worried. Merely, she was worried about something else. Brat, that female corpse seems to be turning into a corpse. It's extremely dangerous for you to carry her with you. I can't help it. Master said that I can't abandon a woman that I have slept with. His teasing tone made Mei Chen take 2 steps back in disgust. Judging from Ningfan's tone, he had slept with the female corpse. Ning Honghong and Mu Weiliang, who had just woken up, blushed. They didn't expect Ningfan to be such a lawless person. Fine, I will send you 2 off. I have seen the great elder of Purple Clan once. You can also go to Red Clan. I will send you back. No one will make things difficult for you. Parting was always sad, but if there was a chance, Ningfan could still enter Demon Sinister Forest, right? After the commotion of the female corpse, Mu Weiliang's eyes were slightly evasive. She didn't understand why. Mei Chen's disdain and fear towards Ningfan increased. She had underestimated Ningfan. He didn't even spare the female corpse. Of course, he wouldn't spare the little sable either. As for Ning Honghong, she seemed to be deep in thought. She secretly asked Ningfan for a favor. With your ability, you will be able to move unhindered in Wu Yu in less than 10 years. I have a favor to ask of you. After you leave Demon Sinister Forest, can you help me take care of the Ning family in Wu country? Ningfan didn't know whether to laugh or cry at this request. The old ancestor of his family, Ning Honghong, was asking him to take care of the Ning family? It seemed like he still had some debts to settle with the Ning family. Originally, Ningfan didn't intend to destroy the Ning family. He only wanted to kill the mastermind. But now, with Ning Honghong's request, it was impossible for him to massacre the Ning family. Suddenly, a bold idea emerged in his mind, but he immediately shook his head and suppressed it. The corpses of the old ancestors of Ning family in Hai Ning seemed to be buried outside the ancestral temple. If he dug out Ning Honghong's corpse, could he resurrect her? Chapter 77. After today, he would leave and no one knew when he would enter the Demon Sinister Forest again. Mu Weiliang and Ning Honghong remained silent. As for the little sable, it put its head into Ningfan's storage pouch to pick some millennium spiritual herbs. She needed a large amount of spiritual herbs to restore her strength. She could only take them from Ningfan's pouch, right? As long as it wasn't necessary, Ningfan would let her take whatever she wanted. After all, without the sable's help, it would be impossible for Ningfan to dominate the 3rd region. From the beginning to the end, this lazy little sable didn't help to kill any ghosts. It only relied on her demonic chi. Is that the aura of a void fragmentation expert? It can suppress the enemy with just the aura alone. Void fragmentation is very strong. Ningfan's eyes revealed a trace of yearning. One day, he would break through to the void fragmentation realm and become a supreme figure in the Rain Immortal world. The mist in the 3rd region was thicker. As if responding to the atmosphere, it started drizzling. Ningfan exerted his magical power to stop the raindrops from falling on them. In this atmosphere, the immortal cloud went all the way out of the Red Clan. The moment Ningfan stepped into the Red Clan, he could hear the sound of alarm coming from all directions. Formation lights lit up one after another. There was even a red-robed old man with a frightened expression. He was leading a dozen late gold core experts. They stood in the sky and looked at Ningfan, as if they were facing a great enemy. Qi Qianli, the red devil of raging flame. He was the old monster that was scared off by Ning Fan's strange means. Little friend Zhou Ming, what brings you to Red Clan today? Qi Qianli laughed dryly. There was a storage pouch in his hand that contained 100 cents beads. As long as Ning Fan asked for them, he would immediately give them to Ning Fan. Fear. He was really afraid of Ning Fan. Red Clan wasn't much stronger than Green Clan. Its defensive formation was far inferior to Green Clan. Qi Qianli didn't think that he could withstand Ning Fan's wrath. Senior Qi, you must be joking. I'm not here to cause trouble today. I'm here to send 2 of your friends back to their clan. I still have to visit the other clans. As soon as Ning Fan's words faded, Ning Honghong and Mu Weiliang flew down from the immortal cloud. Their eyes were slightly red. They flew to Qi Qianli's side. Subordinate Ning Honghong greets Great Elder and Madam Elder. This Qi Qianli is a ruthless killer, but he has a wife who is very kind to the ghosts in his tribe. Compared to the coldness of the Green tribe, the Red tribe is more humane. As for the beautiful woman in red, she was at the late Gold Core realm. She had a kind countenance, and usually took good care of Ning Honghong and Mu Weiliang. Along the way, Ning Honghong and Mu Weiliang kept reminding him not to be rude to the Red Clan. Otherwise, with Ning Fan's character, he would have smashed the Dan fragmentation cauldron twice at the Red Clan to steal some benefits. You are Honghong Weiliang. You're back. When Qi Qianli saw the 2 women, he didn't say anything. However, his wife was already sobbing emotionally, and it wasn't an act. It seemed that this Madam Qi had a very deep relationship with the 2 women. Did you save Honghong and Weiliang? How can I thank you? This is just a small gift. Please accept it, young Master Zhou Ming. The beautiful woman in red took off Qi Qianli's storage pouch and passed it to Ning Fan along with her own. She was indescribably grateful. As soon as the storage pouch was taken off, Qi Qianli's facial expression changed dramatically, as if he had swallowed a fly. He had just obtained a peak high-grade magical treasure and countless spiritual herbs. He was preparing to use them to break through to the false nascent realm, but he didn't expect that his wife would give them to someone else. Madam, this little friend Zhou Ming doesn't need any gift. However, as soon as his words came out, the beautiful woman in red glared at him. You talk too much. Compared to Honghong and Weiliang's safety, a few spiritual herbs and magical treasures are nothing. Immediately, Qi Qianli shut his mouth. He who had killed people like Scything Flax didn't dare to anger his wife. Shrew. Impact. In an instant, these 2 words emerged in Ning Fan's mind, making him shake his head and chuckle. This Red Clan was interesting. No wonder the 2 girls wanted to come back no matter what. This was Ning Honghong and Mu Weiliang's home after they died. With this beautiful woman in red, the 2 girls wouldn't be bullied anymore. No need. I have a good relationship with Honghong and Weiliang. I'm just sending them home. There's no need to thank me. Ning Fan gently pushed the 2 storage pouches away and gave the 2 girls a deep look. Then, he carried the small sable and left on the cloud. He didn't say anything else. He had said everything that needed to be said. If he continued, it would only increase the sadness of the 2 girls. His figure gradually disappeared in the dark fog of the demon's sinister forest. It was hard to see him clearly. All of a sudden, the figure used his magical power to disperse the dark fog. He stood on the peak of a green mountain and cupped his fists at the 2 girls from 10 li away. I'll be back. In an instant, whether it was the shy Mu Weiliang or the soft Ning Honghong, both of their eyes reddened. Would he be back? The figure that sent them off would be unforgettable and engraved in their minds. Mountains and rivers cupped their fists and smiled. He was so carefree. Gradually, the red-robed woman seemed to have noticed something from the expressions of the 2 girls. She sighed slightly. Naturally, she sighed because the 2 heavenly geniuses of the Red Clan had fallen in love with the same young man at the same time. As for Qi Qianli, he was overjoyed when he saw that Ning Fan didn't accept the storage pouch. He took the pouch from his wife and tied it around his waist. His impression of Ning Fan had reached its peak for the first time. That young friend Zhou Ming is a good man. I'm very grateful that he didn't rob my storage pouch. After leaving the Red Clan, Ning Fan went straight to the purple clan. After the two girls left, there was only a man and a sable left on the immortal cloud. Little Martin, who was in his embrace, asked with a puzzled expression, "With your personality of not getting up early without benefits, it's really rare that you didn't snatch anything and didn't accept gifts." "Rare?" Ning Fan smiled faintly. His finger gently poked a certain part of the small sable's body, and it went half an inch in. For a moment, the small sable was extremely embarrassed. She wanted to bite Ning Fan's palm, but she was afraid that she would hurt Ning Fan. "Shameless. Shameless. Is that so? This is my first time touching a void fragmentation female's body, and it's no different from an ordinary woman. This finger only went half an inch in. Consider it a punishment for mocking me." "Bah! How dare you punish me? Do you really think that I'm your demon pet? Wait until I recover my cultivation base." Her tone was fierce, but there was no killing intent. It was just an act. Ning Fan's shameless image in the small sable's heart rose infinitely for the first time. She angrily said, "I really want to see what kind of master can teach such a shameless disciple like you. My master's shamelessness is unparalleled in the 4 heavens and 9 worlds. One day, you might be able to meet him." As they chatted and laughed, the man and the sable arrived in the sky above the purple clan. This time, there was no clamor. There was only the usual defensive light of the spell formation, and an old fisherman stepped into the sky to welcome them. Chu Chen. He looked deeply at Ning Fan with a slightly surprised expression. He thought that he had never underestimated Ning Fan. But after hearing that Ning Fan single-handedly annihilated the Azure clan and rampaged in the 3rd region, he couldn't help but be shocked. Seeing the small sable in Ning Fan's arms, Mei Chun, the old man's expression turned solemn. He knelt down in the sky. "Sinner Chu Chen greets Emperor Lan. Dispense with the formalities." The small sable's voice was cold and noble. It made Ning Fan feel a sense of unfamiliarity. She jumped out of Ning Fan's arms and wrapped Ning Fan's clothes. Then, she transformed into a luxurious woman in a white robe. Ning Fan's robe on her body added a sense of masculinity to her coquettish appearance. Her eyes were calm yet imposing. This kind of pressure made Ning Fan slightly startled. Is this the real small sable? Her beauty was unparalleled in the world. Her cultivation base was shocking. She was cold and aloof. There was a reason for the crime of betrayal that day. Although the death penalty can be avoided, the punishment cannot be avoided. Chu Chun cut off one of your fingers. As soon as her indifferent words fell, Chu Chun immediately patted his storage pouch, took out a dagger magical treasure, and cut off his left little finger. There was no trace of resentment. Instead, there was a long sigh of relief. Chu Chun knew Mei Chen's temper in the past. Those who betrayed her would either die or be crippled of their cultivation base. He didn't expect that he would only cut off one finger. Since when did Mei Chen become so tolerant? His eyes fell on Ning Fan. Could it be that Mei Chen's change was brought about by this young man? Chu Chen could never imagine how Ning Fan trained Mei Chen. This matter was too erotic. He thought that Ning Fan wouldn't tell anyone about it. "You can go now. You don't have to worry about me." Mei Chen walked gracefully and landed on Purple Clan. Her words were cold, but the moment she turned around, Ning Fan noticed that her shoulders slightly trembled. "You sure act well." He smiled faintly and turned to leave, disappearing into the mist. Just as Ning Fan was about to leave, Mei Chen suddenly turned around and warned him through divine sense. "Be careful of Bone Emperor. His incarnation might not be able to find you. Perhaps he will send his true body and soul to chase after you." "Is that so? If he sends his true body and soul here, I will let his soul suffer a good injury. It will also solve some problems for you." Ning Fan's heart warmed as he replied. He wasn't afraid of Bone Emperor's soul. Bone Emperor was powerful because of his bones. His soul was soft. Should he use soul burning technique to burn it? Bone Emperor didn't know him. Bone Emperor didn't know his means. Ning Fan might be able to trick Bone Emperor. In the 1st region, a level 2 vein opening disciple was escaping from a level 3 vein opening ghost. It was a 15 or 16-year-old teenager. He looked ordinary, and his robe wasn't luxurious. His name was Wang Yao. He fled to the bottom of a precipice and had nowhere else to go. He looked at the ghost that was chasing him and its bloody mouth, revealing a look of despair. The ghost was getting closer and closer. Wang Yao's legs trembled, and he fell to the ground. But right at this moment, a strand of soul force that was translucent like a thread came out of nowhere and sank into the top of the youth's head. The teenager screamed and died. But the next moment the corpse stood up blankly. The moment the corpse stood up, the level 3 vein opening ghost seemed to have seen something unbelievable and instinctively showed a terrified expression. Humph! A vein opening ghost dares to attack me? Courting death. The corpse sneered and pointed out with a finger. The white bone light struck the ghost, causing it to let out a blood-curdling screech before disintegrating into ashes. The corpse's divine sense swept out, and everything within 10 miles was clear to him. Hee. I will send a strand of my true soul to this teenager's body. I will find the madman who hurt my incarnation and kill him. A strand of Bone Emperor's true soul actually descended on Wang Yao's body and killed him. Didn't this mean that Bone Emperor's body could leave the demon sinister forest? First, I will eat some little ghosts to restore my peak gold core magical power. Wang Yao's eyes flickered. In a flash, he disappeared into the forest and swept through the first and second regions. Chapter 78. Not only Sinister Sparrow Sect, but all the experts in Yu country were staring at him. They didn't believe it. They didn't believe that Ning Fan could get 2 million contribution points just by killing one ghost. They didn't believe it. They didn't believe that Ning Fan could get more than 15 million contribution points by killing more gold core ghosts. There must be something wrong with the Merit and Virtue Monument. Countless old monsters were waiting outside the demon sinister forest. They were waiting for Ning Fan to reveal the answer to them. They wouldn't believe it unless they saw him with their own eyes. They didn't believe that a weak cultivation country like Yu country could produce such a heaven-defying figure. An intermediate harmonious spirit expert at the age of 17 was too heaven-defying. If he could really kill nearly 1,000 gold core ghosts, he alone would be enough to sweep the entire Yu country. This was ridiculous. Every disciple who walked out of the demon sinister forest was lucky. When they entered the forest, there were more than 160 disciples. But when they came out, only 75 of them were alive. Even the deacon disciples who were responsible for the safety of the disciples died in the forest. Once they left the forest, they would be considered to have completed the assessment and officially become an outer disciple. Young boys and girls with tattered clothes and bloodstains on their faces walked out of the formation light. Before they could rejoice, their faces were filled with shock. They found that there were hundreds of harmonious spirit and gold core old monsters waiting outside the demon sinister forest. The chi field of hundreds of old monsters was so strong that it shook people's hearts. None of the disciples could remain calm in front of these old monsters. What's going on? Why are so many famous demons gathering in Sinister Sparrow Sect? Li Jihuan's expression changed dramatically as soon as he came out of the grand formation. It wasn't that he didn't have harmonious spirit old monsters in his family, but it was his first time seeing hundreds of harmonious spirit old monsters gathered in one place. As for gold core old monsters, they weren't people that a small Li family could associate with. It was even rarer for him to see them. He was nervous as he went to the medicine-handing elder to hand over the spirit herbs in exchange for contribution points. Name how many spiritual herbs. The elder in charge of the payment was Meng Jiqiu, the outer sect elder of Sinister Sparrow Sect. His tone was slightly absent-minded. Li Jihuan, hand over 200 kilograms of spirit herbs. Li Jihuan replied rather conceitedly. 200 caddies of 10-year-old spiritual herbs were enough to exchange for 10 contribution points. Moreover, he had obtained 91 contribution points from killing the ghosts. Adding them all together, he had more than 100 contribution points. If not for his injuries in the demon sinister forest, Li Jihuan was confident that he could get more points. However, he firmly believed that with so many contributions, it was enough to attract the attention of the sect. My contribution might not be as good as Lu Ziqiao, because he has a heaven-defying item like the soul-refining streamer, But it shouldn't be much different from Ning Fan, because he's cultivating the dual cultivation technique. However, to Li Jihuan's surprise, Elder Meng only nodded lightly at Li Jihuan's 101 contribution points and praised him. Not bad. Impossible. My contribution is considered as a genius in the history of Sinister Sparrow sect. Why does Elder Meng treat me so coldly? His heart was slightly unbalanced, thinking that there must be some conflict between Elder Meng and his clan. Li Jihuan misunderstood Elder Meng. He had stayed in the Demon Sinister Forest for a month. He didn't know that Ning Fan had appeared in the outside world and obtained 15 million contribution points. In front of this amount of contribution points, a mere 100 points wasn't shocking at all. After registering his contribution points, Li Jihuan turned around and saw Lu Ziqiao, who came to register his contribution points. Lu Ziqiao was wearing his usual smile. His gloomy expression was nowhere to be seen. Greetings, Brother Lu. May I know how many contribution points Brother Lu has obtained? Humph. Anyway, it's more than you. Lu Ziqiao was still arrogant. If Li Jihuan was a genius that appeared once in 10 years, then he was a genius that appeared once in 100 years. He had the right to be arrogant. Lu Ziqiao had seen how Li Jihuan was treated coldly by Elder Meng. A mere 101 contribution points was nothing to Lu Ziqiao. Name, how many spiritual herbs have you submitted? Elder Meng's tone was still absent-minded. Lu Ziqiao, 23 stalks of century-old spiritual herbs plus the ghosts you killed. A total of 1,423 contribution points. Lu Ziqiao curled his lips. He believed that his contribution points were enough to scare Elder Meng. Moreover, he had submitted century-old spiritual herbs. It went without saying that he had entered the second region. He believed that even Ning Fan, who had a strong background, and Li Jihuan, who cultivated the body-seizing evil art, wouldn't dare to enter the second region. But out of his expectation, Elder Meng was only slightly startled when he saw the century-old spiritual herbs submitted by Lu Ziqiao. Then he regained his composure and shook his head. Not bad. 1423 contribution points. If it was in the previous years, you would be regarded as a genius. Unfortunately, that person is here this time. No one will pay attention to you. Elder Meng's words made Lu Ziqiao and Li Jihuan's heart shudder. 101 contribution points wasn't enough to make Elder Meng look favorably at him. However, 1423 contribution points still wasn't enough to make Elder Meng look favorably at him. This was too strange. Moreover, Elder Meng's words seemed to have a hidden meaning. With that person's presence, his 1423 contribution points wouldn't be shocking. Who was that person? Could it be that that person had obtained a higher contribution points? Lu Ziqiao was puzzled. Then, he saw a gray-robed young man with a pale face like a corpse walking out of the formation light. Lu Ziqiao remembered the name of this young man. It seemed that his name was Wang Yao. It wasn't because Wang Yao was powerful, but because Wang Yao's background caught his attention. The Wang clan of Eastern, you could be considered as a powerful cultivation clan. However, this Wang Yao had a hint of gloomy qi which made Lu Ziqiao's heart and soul shiver. Strange, why did I feel a trace of fear towards this Wang Yao? Immediately, Wang Yao's expression was cold as he walked towards Elder Meng and handed over the spiritual herbs. Name, how many spiritual herbs have you handed over? This time, Elder Meng seemed to pay more attention, but there was still no fiery expression on his face. Wang Yao handed over a 500 years old spiritual herb, plus the ghosts that you have killed, a total of 31,855 contribution points. Wang Yao's voice was extremely cold. His words made many disciples and harmonious spirit old monsters suck in a breath of cold air. This Wang Yao's rise was extremely unexpected. In the previous month, he only had 7 contribution points, which meant that he barely killed 2 first-level vein opening ghosts. But on the last day, Wang Yao went on a rampage and obtained more than 30,000 contribution points. No one knew how many harmonious spirit ghosts he had killed. This kid can't be underestimated. But he is still not as good as that Ning Fan. Elder Meng took a deep breath and became polite to Wang Yao. This Wang Yao had the strength to kill harmonious spirit experts. Even a late harmonious spirit expert like Elder Meng couldn't ignore him. After handing over the spiritual herbs, Wang Yao didn't seem to have any desire to strike up a conversation with others. Even when facing a harmonious spirit expert, he remained indifferent. His eyes drifted around, as if he was looking for someone among the disciples. That person, who is he? To be able to kill my clone? I'm afraid that he is at least a peak harmonious spirit expert. Plus, this person must be one of the disciples in the trial. Wang Yao thought to himself. Wang Yao's contribution points made Lu Ziqiao and Li Jihuan dumbfounded and in disbelief. Lu Ziqiao remembered that Wang Yao was only a second-level vein opening cultivator. How could he obtain 30,000 contribution points? Wang Yao must have killed at least 100 harmonious spirit ghosts to obtain so many contribution points. This Wang Yao has hidden his strength so deeply. What is his cultivation? He must have caused a great commotion by obtaining so many contribution points. It seems like these harmonious spirit and gold core seniors are here to see him. Lu Ziqiao pondered, but to his surprise, only a few old monsters showed interest in Wang Yao's appearance. Most of the experts were still staring at the formation light in the direction of the demon sinister forest, as if they were waiting for someone. All of a sudden, an absurd thought emerged in Lu Ziqiao's mind. Could it be that there was a youth who was more powerful than Wang Yao in the demon sinister forest? That was the reason why these old monsters didn't pay attention to Wang Yao. Wang Yao had already obtained 30,000 contribution points. How much contribution points would the youth, who was more powerful than Wang Yao, get? Who is it? At this moment, not only Lu Ziqiao and Li Jihuan, but also the other disciples who had just left the forest realized that there must be someone extraordinary among this batch of disciples, who was even more powerful than Wang Yao. That was the reason why so many old monsters were looking at him with fiery eyes. Who was that person? Could it be him? The image of a white-clothed and black-cloaked youth emerged in Lu Ziqiao's mind, but he immediately shook his head in disbelief. Lu Ziqiao believed that Ning Fan had a strong background, but he didn't think that Ning Fan's dual cultivation technique would have a high combat strength. No, the one who surpassed Wang Yao is definitely not Ning Fan. Lu Ziqiao's eyes were fixed on the direction of the demon sinister forest, waiting for an absurd answer that he didn't want to believe. Under the eager gaze of the crowd, a youth in white and black cloak finally walked out of the formation light. Each of his steps was heavy, as if he was taking a stroll in the garden, like a young master next door. However, his indifferent eyes and gestures were filled with an indescribable charm. The moment the young man appeared, the hundreds of experts present, as long as they had sword-type magic treasures on them, all experienced a strange situation. Everyone's longswords began to tremble lightly. They seemed to be excited, awed, and trembling. For the first time, Meng Ziqiao, who didn't smile in front of Li Jihuan, Lu Ziqiao, and even Wang Yao, stood up for the first time with an excited expression. He cupped his fists at Ning Fan respectfully, and even left the registration desk to welcome Ning Fan with a smile. Hee little friend Ning, you've made me wait for a long time. I wonder if little friend Ning has submitted the spiritual herbs? No. Ning Fan smiled faintly. Although he said that he didn't, there was an inconspicuous 3-zhang white stone beside the registration desk that was as smooth as a mirror. Suddenly, a white light flashed on the surface of the stone. The medicine-testing mirror stone shone. It was said that the stone would only shine when it sensed a large number of 1,000-year-old spiritual herbs. Without a doubt, Ning Fan must have a large number of 1,000-year-old spiritual herbs. What kind of benefits did he obtain in the demon sinister forest? Meng Ziqiao wouldn't ask any of this. Since Ning Fan wasn't willing to submit the spiritual herbs, he would naturally turn a blind eye to it. So little friend Ning, are you going to register your final contribution points? Yes. Thank you, Elder. Then, I hereby announce that Ning Fan has become the first disciple in the history of Sinister Sparrow Sect with 15 million contribution points. According to the sect master's order, the moment Ning Fan left the demon sinister forest, he will be promoted to an elder. What? 15 million contribution points. He was promoted to an elder as soon as he joined the sect. Lu Ziqiao took a few steps back, before he could stabilize his body. He looked at Ning Fan in disbelief. Not only Lu Ziqiao, but all the other disciples who didn't know Ning Fan's contribution points were dumbfounded and ashamed. Except for Wang Yao. This person's eyes turned cold, as if he had immediately confirmed one thing. Chapter 80. The night was quiet. After a month of killing, Ning Fan's nerves were always tense, making him extremely tired. He was lazily lying in the wooden tub, soaking in the flower petal bathwater prepared by Bai Xiao. The petal was called Jade Birth Sandalwood. It could relieve the fatigue of cultivators, and was extremely precious. Even ordinary harmonious spirit old monsters couldn't afford to use it. He didn't expect Bai Xiao to prepare such an expensive bathwater for him. It seemed that his status in the sect had risen to an unprecedented height because of the 15 million contribution points. Fortunately, no one believed that Ning Fan could kill a gold core old monster. Unfortunately, most of them accepted Ning Fan's identity as the #1 expert below the gold core realm, and called him a harmonious spirit assassin. Becoming famous at a young age would eventually be burdened by fame. Ning Fan began to understand the meaning of this sentence. Now that he was under the watchful eyes of the public, he couldn't hide what he wanted to do. If I can find some spirit refining grass and learn the first art of the divine art, false art of divine art, I'll be able to disguise my appearance and identity with my peak gold core divine sense. Unless it's a nascent soul expert, no one would be able to see through my disguise. In this way, I'll be able to steal the black Yin Qi, or kill people with another identity in front of everyone. His eyes turned cold. He naturally wouldn't forget the revenge of extreme Yin Gate. If it wasn't because he knew the art of divination and predicted that there would be an ambush, he would have been killed by extreme Yin Gate despite his astonishing strength. Ning Fan gently exhaled, calmed his mind and immersed his head in the bathwater. Silence. In the sinister Sparrow sect, in the deacon hall, a gray-robed deacon disciple gently walked out of the door, looked up at the moonlight in the night sky, and a sneer appeared on his deathly pale face that was as cold as a corpse. He was Wang Yao. Ning Fan, huh? Let me confirm if it's your doing, Ning Fan said. He performed an incantation gesture, and his palm turned into a white bone claw. In a split second, a jade-like rib in Ning Fan's storage pouch glowed faintly. It's really him. Good, very good. As soon as this wisp of my true soul breaks through to the nascent soul stage in the mortal realm, I'll crush you mercilessly. Wang Yao sneered coldly. His expressionless face returned to normal, and the profound light beneath his feet flickered. He turned into a streak of white bone light, and flew out of the inner sect unimpeded. This method was simply unimaginable. And tonight, in the State of Yu, 3 cultivation clans were exterminated. No one knew that this was all Wang Yao's doing. Wang Yao, no Bone Emperor's clone, was trying to recover his nascent soul realm strength as soon as possible. This was because he found out that there were many gold core experts in Sinister Sparrow sect in Yu country. Without a nascent soul cultivation base, he wasn't sure that he could kill Ning Fan in front of everyone. A trace of uneasiness rose in Ning Fan's heart. He sensed something and got out of the bathtub naked. He waved his hand and took the storage pouch into his hand. Seeing the white bones quietly lying inside the pouch, he revealed a puzzled expression. Was it an illusion? No, just in case, I'll perform a divination. He pinched his fingers and calculated. A moment later, he revealed an expression of shock and anger. However, within the shock and anger, there was also confusion. With this, he divined that someone was plotting against him, but he couldn't divine the identity of that person. It seemed that the person's cultivation base was far beyond his. That was why he couldn't divine everything about that person with his magical power. Ning Fan took a deep breath. His eyes glinted with cold light. He put on his robe, took out a piece of bone and muttered to himself. Bone Emperor, is that you? Among Ning Fan's enemies, the one whose strength was far stronger than him was Bone Emperor in the 7th region of Demon Sinister Forest, and Moksha Emperor, the God Emperor of the Demon World. Moksha Emperor wouldn't be able to reach Reign Immortal World within 100 years, and Bone Emperor wouldn't be able to leave Demon Sinister Forest either. However, Ning Fan still felt uneasy. It's better to be careful. I can't keep this bone in the storage pouch for the time being. He waved his palm and kept the white bone into his cauldron ring. In the next moment, Wang Yao, who was massacring the cultivators in the night, said disdainfully with a cold expression, "Humph! What a vigilant kid. I've only used the bone-searching technique, and it has already aroused his vigilance. However, you definitely don't know that I'm Wang Yao. You still won't be able to escape death." The uneasiness made Ning Fan lose the mood to take a bath. He realized that he couldn't be careless even if he left Demon Sinister Forest. He needed strength to cure the old monster. He needed strength to defeat Moksha Emperor. He also needed strength to ascend to the four heavens immortal world and fight with countless descendants of fiend gods and devils. 100 years later, he needed to have the strength to fight against Moksha Emperor. There's no time to waste. Tomorrow, I'll go to the main hall of the sect to entertain those old things. Then I'll concoct the consolidating spirit pill and break through to the peak of harmonious spirit realm. One could break through to the peak of harmonious spirit realm by swallowing pills, but it was extremely difficult to reach the false core realm and the gold core realm. Ning Fan had the enlightenment of an immortal emperor, so there was no bottleneck to speak of, but he still needed at least 10 years to break through to the gold core realm. This was cultivation. Even though Ning Fan had countless shortcuts, he still couldn't reach the sky in a single step. He sat cross-legged on the bed. The scent of Bing Ling and Yu Ling still lingered in his nose, carrying a hint of virgin fragrance. Ning Fan didn't care about it. His state of mind was as steady as a rock. The yin-yang transformation could greatly improve one's state of mind. After all, the most important aspect of dual cultivation was a steady will. If he wanted to use the bewitching technique on others, he must first not be afraid of it. He adjusted his magical power and circulated it. Even if the effect was weak, he didn't want to waste his cultivation time. But at this moment, his eyes suddenly opened, as if he had sensed something. The spirit realm grand formation in the courtyard moved. Someone had come in, and there were quite a few of them. Reckless. The corner of his mouth curved into a cold smile. The grand formation he had set up wasn't a defensive formation, but a scouting formation. Except for Bai Xiao, no one would be able to tell that he had set up a formation. The people who came were a group of women. Each of them had a charming appearance, but each of their eyes was flashing with a cold light like that of a snake or scorpion. The leading woman was a girl in a green silk dress. Her appearance was somewhat similar to Bai Xiao, but compared to her, she was more radiant. Bai Lu, an early harmonious spirit female disciple in the dual cultivation palace, who dared to murder the previous elders. "Sister, how should we deal with this Ning Fan?" A black-clothed woman who looked to be in her late 20s asked with a cold expression. "Hee, should we kill him, or keep him for our younger sisters to play with?" Another woman in a purple veil said with a frivolous smile. Both of them were at level 10 vein opening, which was enough to be a deacon disciple in Sinister Sparrow sect. But they were willing to stay in the dual cultivation palace to serve Bai Lu. Bai Lu snapped her fingers. Immediately, a rather well-built woman knelt on the ground. Bai Lu sat lazily on the woman's back, rubbing the woman's buttocks with her bare hands, revealing a covetous and fiery look. "Yun Er, your little buttocks are getting fatter." "Sister, don't laugh at Yun Er. Yun Er will be sister's woman for the rest of my life." The woman who was being sat by, Bai Lu seemed to enjoy Bai Lu's action of rubbing her buttocks. "Huangling, bring a few of your sisters to entertain this new elder." Bai Lu pondered for a moment and finally said lightly. As soon as she gave the order, 5 charming yellow-clothed women walked towards Ning Fan's room, pushed the door open and entered. Apart from the 5 yellow-clothed women, all of them were virgins. They were obviously cultivating the dual cultivation method, but their primordial yin was still intact. How could they have dual cultivation? Ning Fan was slightly startled. He retracted his spirit sense and revealed a pensive look. He could feel that the 5 yellow-clothed women had entered his room. It seemed like these 5 women were the culprits who had plucked countless male disciples and elders to death. Interesting. Treating the dual cultivation palace as your own kingdom. Using only 5 level 10 vein opening demonesses to pluck me? Aren't you looking down on me too much? Ning Fan sneered in his heart, but his expression remained unchanged. He was still sitting cross-legged on the bed. The 5 women entered the room and began to take off their clothes. Their clothes fell to the ground, revealing their naked bodies like 5 white lambs. They panted softly towards Ning Fan. Yo, Elder Ning, do you want to have some fun with us 5 sisters? The 5 women's words seemed to have casted an extremely powerful bewitching technique. Even Ning Fan's peak gold core spirit sense trembled for a moment. No wonder these 5 women could pluck harmonious spirit old monsters with a mere vein opening cultivation. It turned out that their bewitching technique was this powerful. Unfortunately, no matter how powerful their bewitching technique was, it was still inferior to Ning Fan. Using bewitching technique in front of Ning Fan was simply displaying one slight skill in front of an expert. Ning Fan's face was filled with mockery. He flicked his fingers, and the plucking finger flew out. In just a moment, the 5 women were struck by the plucking finger at the same time. Their magical power stagnated, and their chi was in chaos. Their hearts were at a loss, leaving only the desire to have sex. Bailu, you're so considerate. I have just arrived, and you've already given me 5 cauldrons. Although they aren't virgins, I don't mind if it's just plucking. Ning Fan's sneer, and the 5 women's painful moans fell into Bailu's ears. All of a sudden, she stood up with a face full of disbelief. Impossible. Huang Ling and her sisters cultivate the remnant of a certain gold core realm bewitching technique. Even a peak harmonious spirit old monster might not be able to resist this bewitching technique. How could you resist it? Her mind was in a mess. If Ning Fan really plucked the women, it would undoubtedly be like cutting a knife into her heart. They are my cauldrons. How are you going to enjoy them? Humph. In a flash, Bailu dashed into the house. She patted the storage pouch on her waist, and a long sword appeared in her hand. She then thrust it at Ning Fan. Unfortunately, when the woman's long sword was facing Ning Fan, it actually trembled slightly. Ning Fan's sharp gaze pierced it, and the dignified low-grade high-rank magical treasure was shattered into pieces by his gaze. Ning Fan's sea of consciousness had condensed into sword consciousness. Currently, he could almost be considered as the Emperor of Swords. Ordinary treasured swords were not even qualified to be swung in front of him. Shattering the long sword with just a gaze was completely out of Bailu's expectation. She lost her sense of propriety. She wanted to retreat, but Ning Fan leaped up and used an icy rainbow to approach her. Then he pointed his plucking finger at her. Ning Fan didn't have the slightest bit of tenderness towards the fairer sex. He used all his strength and poked Bailu's chest, causing her to let out a soft cry of pain. But immediately, her rationality was overwhelmed by the plucking finger. An unbearable feeling rose in her heart, causing her to reveal a shocked and angry expression. How dare you use bewitching technique on me? You have to understand that you are a disciple, and I am an elder of Dual Cultivation Palace. If you send someone to pluck me, I can do the same to you. Ning Fan revealed a cold expression. He flicked his finger repeatedly and threw Bailu, who was now limp, onto the bed. His soft-hearted heart was only reserved for a few people. Against his enemies, his heart was harder than a rock. What do you want to do to me? Bailu was a little scared. Although she had sexual intercourse with other women, she was still a virgin. She had a vague feeling that Ning Fan wouldn't let her go so easily. Meeting Ning Fan's cold gaze, Bailu felt fear and powerlessness for the first time in her life. She had reached the harmonious spirit realm, but she didn't even have the strength to fight back against Ning Fan. The plucking finger gradually took effect, causing her to lose her consciousness. Those who hurt others would be hurt by others. Since she wanted to harm Ning Fan, he wouldn't let her go. It was already midnight when Ning Fan put on his clothes. He pushed the door open and went out. Bailu was lying on the bed like a pile of mud. Her face was flushed. Huang Ling and the other 4 girls had fainted on the floor. None of the female disciples dared to enter the room. Ning Fan's murderous intent was too terrifying. A few of them wanted to rush in, but they fainted under Ning Fan's murderous intent. From today onwards, you, Bailu, will be my 18th cauldron. Ning Fan said plainly. Damn it. I've fallen into your hands this time. Bai Lu couldn't help but clench her teeth in regret. She was used to being arrogant in Dual Cultivation Palace, but this was the first time she was bullied. I don't care whether you are willing or not when I take my cauldron. Remember, you have attacked me once, but there won't be a second time. This time, I will spare your life. Next time, huh? Ning Fan threatened in an indifferent tone. Chapter 82. The morning light was faint and intoxicating. In the valley of Sinister Sparrow Sect's inner sect, a young man was treading on the fallen leaves and yellow soil. He was walking towards the main palace of the sect, the Long Inclination Palace. It was quiet and peaceful. This place was obviously a paradise. No one could tell that this was an evil sect from the outside. If this young man didn't have an elder's jade pendant on his waist, no one would be able to recognize him. He was the most popular figure in Sinister Sparrow Sect, the elder of Dual Cultivation Palace, Ning Fan. He was still dressed in a white robe and a black cloak, but there was an additional jade pendant on his waist. At the end of the road, outside the forest, the Long Inclination Palace gradually emerged. It was a palace carved out of pink jade, with an extraordinary formation light. As soon as Ning Fan appeared, four deacon disciples who were guarding the door saluted respectfully. Greetings, Elder Ning. Outside the palace, under an old parasol tree, a blue-robed lady floated to Ning Fan's front. She seemed to have been waiting for Ning Fan outside the palace for a long time. There was a hint of bitterness on her cold face. There were dark circles around her beautiful eyes. It seemed like she didn't sleep well yesterday. Ning Fan, why didn't you come to find me last night? Lan Mei's tone was strange. Those who didn't know would think that they were lovers flirting. Oh, why did I look for you? Dual cultivation. Ning Fan stopped and nodded to the deacon disciple as a return greeting. He looked at Lan Mei and revealed a teasing expression. Bah, you're not serious at all. Of course, it's to treat my illness. Ah yes, that matter. You don't have to worry about it. Because of the sect examination, I haven't finished concocting the pill. I'll find you later, and help you heal that part of your body. Ning Fan smiled faintly. He had a good impression of Lan Mei. If Lan Mei didn't give him the map of Demon Sinister Forest, he would have encountered many dangers. He could treat her lower body, and even marry her was not out of the question. Although Lan Mei was a little spoiled, it wasn't unbearable. Bah, even if you're fine, you can still come to see me. Why do I smell a woman's rouge on you? Lan Mei was acting like a little girl when she suddenly frowned. She could faintly smell a woman's fragrance from Ning Fan's body. Because I'm practicing a dual cultivation method. Ning Fan stopped smiling, and his expression turned serious. He did not explain further, nor did he hide anything. This short sentence had already explained many things. Obviously, Ning Fan had plucked that girl. Lan Mei's heart tightened. Unknowingly, she realized that she would feel very upset when she heard that Ning Fan plucked other women. She didn't understand why she felt so upset. She lowered her head and asked in a low voice, "Is it a female disciple of the Dual Cultivation Palace?" Yes, she wanted to pluck me, but I plucked her instead. If that's the case, actually, you don't have to cultivate dual cultivation. Sinister Sparrow Sect actually has a lot of advanced cultivation techniques. With your talent, if you cultivate other cultivation techniques. Before she could finish her words, Ning Fan's helpless voice interrupted her. With my talent, if I don't cultivate this technique, I won't be able to protect anything after 100 years. I have no other choice. My enemy is too powerful. I'm sorry. Ning Fan's eyes were a little apologetic. This was the first time he apologized to Lan Mei. As for Lan Mei, she was like a frightened little bird, at a loss of what to do. No, you don't have to apologize to me. What you did with that girl has nothing to do with me. Isn't your wife Jiha? All right, I'll bring you into the palace. There are many experts waiting for you inside. Although Lan Mei said that she didn't mind, her words were as sour as old vinegar. However, Ning Fan wouldn't give up the yin-yang transformation just because of this. If he wanted to gain strength, he had to pay the price. His reputation would never be good for the rest of his life. No one could make all the women in the world fall in love with him. Therefore, Ning Fan's path of plucking the world would be filled with killing. If he couldn't get it, he could only snatch it. If he couldn't snatch it, he could only rob it by force. This was the Tao of evil. In the long inclination palace, Sinister Sparrow was sitting on the main seat. He was wearing a bright yellow brocade robe, looking rather elegant. Below him were the experts of Sinister Sparrow sect. On the guest seat, the leader was a woman with honey-colored skin from the western region. She was wearing a lake green Taoist robe. The hem of her skirt was layered with delicate and complicated patterns. She was wearing a wide-sleeved top. She looked cold and silent. This woman was one of the supreme elders of the Great Void sect. She was a peak gold core expert. Her name was Suchio Xianzi. As for the other experts of the outer sect, there was the sect master of Guyu sect, one of the top 10 experts of Yu country, Qin Ziyu. Yes, he was the stingy old man who begged Ning Fan to appraise the blood rust. In the history of Sinister Sparrow sect, there had never been a time when they received so many experts of the same Dao in Yu country at the same time. Sinister Sparrow sect naturally didn't dare to be negligent. Both the host and the guest were having a discussion. Their topics were all about cultivation. None of them mentioned Ning Fan at all. It seemed like these experts had other purposes besides asking about the contribution points in Demon Sinister Forest. When Ning Fan and Lan Mei entered the Long Inclination Palace, all the old experts felt a chill in their hearts. The young man they had been waiting for was finally here. The corner of Bai Fading's eyes shrunk when he saw Ning Fan. He was secretly shocked. Ning Fan's every step was calm and composed. He wasn't intimidated by the aura of the old experts. However, when Ning Fan appeared, the natal magical treasure in Bai Fading's storage pouch, the Myriad Soul Banner, which contained tens of thousands of ghosts, started to tremble. They were actually afraid of Ning Fan. Because Ning Fan had killed too many ghosts. His body exuded a trace of murderous qi that only ghosts could sense. There's something strange about this kid. Bai Fading's face turned pale. Could it be that Ning Fan had some kind of powerful treasure that could restrain ghosts? Or could it be that Ning Fan had used that mysterious magical treasure to kill countless gold core ghosts? If this was true, then the magical treasure that could kill gold core ghosts must be of a very high grade and worth a lot. Could it be that only nascent soul cultivators could afford a supreme grade magical treasure? Bai Fading was right. Ning Fan had two magical treasures with him. They were both supreme grade magical treasures. One was the Eastern Ocean Bell, and the other was the set of 5 peak high-grade flying swords. If I can seize his magical treasures. As soon as this thought arose, it turned into a trace of greed. He couldn't suppress it anymore. Evil cultivators didn't need to hide their greed. Sinister Sparrow sect seemed to have an order that allowed the elders to compete for treasures. Duel. The elder who proposed the duel could ask for a magical treasure from the other party and take out a magical treasure of the same value as the bet. If he won, he would get the magical treasure of the other party. If he lost, he would lose his bet. Bai Fading didn't pay attention to Ning Fan anymore. He immediately made up his mind. Once the crowd dispersed, he would propose a duel to Ning Fan. Ning Fan didn't know what Bai Fading was thinking. He didn't even know that he had attracted the attention of such an old expert the moment he joined the sect. Even if he knew, he wouldn't put Bai Fading in his heart. He had killed hundreds of intermediate gold core experts in the Demon Sinister Forest. He cupped his fists and smiled calmly. The elder of Sinister Sparrow sect, Ning Fan, greets the fellow Taoists of Yu country. His tone was on the same level as the old experts in the hall, but no one felt that it was inappropriate. On the other hand, Ning Fan's calmness and composure did not have the slightest hint of pretense, which made many old monsters secretly sigh in admiration. The young experts like Bai Bai and Yin Jueyun had the most complicated feelings. Ning Fan was younger than them, but his name was too famous. Few people in Yu country didn't know his name. As for Qin Ziyu of Ancient Yu sect, he was one of the experts who had a deeper understanding of Ning Fan. He had already seen Ning Fan's gold core murderous intent in the Dao fruit auction. Now that he saw Ning Fan's late harmonious spirit cultivation base, He wasn't surprised at all. However, he regretted that he was too stingy to build a good relationship with Ning Fan, just because of a few immortal jades. It was really a pity. Everyone used their spirit sense to probe Ning Fan's background, but to no avail. They couldn't find anything wrong with Ning Fan. Only the old ancestor of Great Void Sect, Suqiu Xianzi, a beautiful old expert who had lived for nearly 1,000 years, raised her eyebrows and released her spirit sense. When her peak gold core spirit sense touched Ning Fan's body, she faintly felt a stab of pain. She hastily retracted her spirit sense. Her beautiful eyes were slightly surprised and revealed a playful expression. Then, as if she was pondering, she grinned and gave Ning Fan a sweet smile. Little friend Ning is really extraordinary. Sinister Sparrow Sect has accepted a good disciple. Hiss. Suqiu Xianzi smiled. All the experts in the hall, including Sinister Sparrow, inhaled a breath of cold air, and were secretly surprised. Suqiu Xianzi had always been aloof and arrogant. Even when she was facing a late gold core old monster, she would always be blunt and rarely smile. Rumor had it that a young nascent soul expert of the Rain Palace, who admired this woman, had once spent 100,000 immortal jades to buy a smile from her, but was rejected by her. But she actually smiled at Ning Fan. If that expert of Rain Palace knew about this, he would probably go crazy. Sinister Sparrow chuckled, but there was an unavoidable sense of complacency in his smile. As for the other old experts, they looked at Sinister Sparrow Sect with envy when they heard Suqiu Xianzi praising Ning Fan. A smile from Suqiu Xianzi was priceless. Ning Fan really made Sinister Sparrow Sect proud this time. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.